everyone, welcome back to another live stream after a bit of a hiatus. I hope everyone is doing good. Today is a bit different. Today we're mainly going to be looking at all the different collections that have been coming out recently. There have been loads of collections that have come out in terms of the pre-fall season, but specifically, as you guys can see from the title, we're looking at Chanel, we're looking at Dior, and we're looking at Gucci mainly. And then if there's any other brands you want me to look at, we can look at that in subsequent streams. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. But how is everyone? How is everyone doing? Forza Napoli. People talking about JW Anderson in the chat. How did you guys feel about, before we start, how did you guys feel about those collections? Chanel, Gucci, and Dior. What was your favorite out of the three? My favorite out of the three was definitely Chanel. If I was to put them in order, I would go Chanel first, then Gucci, and then Dior last. But I'm curious to see what you guys think before we get into it. Hello from Montreal, Canada. Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Shout out to Montreal, Canada. He's a triumphant Chanel. Yes, you are reading the description, right? I did definitely write that. We're all entitled to our own opinions, of course. You know how it goes. Oh, he's saying I was late because it took me a long time to get to my workstation in my massive mansion. Interesting. Interesting. Anyway, let's get straight into it. So first, I kind of want to talk about Demna's Gucci collection, which was interesting for a multitude of reasons, to be honest. I think, the Gucci collection, let's get into it. So we saw from Demna's first Gucci collection that he was kind of not doing his own thing. He was just really referencing a lot of past designers that have been at Gucci, whether that's Frida Giannini, Alessandro Michele, Tom Ford. Mainly, a lot of the collection was Tom Ford, but I think this collection is way more Tom Ford and not much anything else. Now, what I find really strange about Demna's Gucci, even though I like it, by the way, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Some people really don't like it. I personally like it, but why does he keep saying, this is not my vision, this is not my vision, my real vision is going to come in February, so don't take what I'm designing seriously. It's like, at this point, you've literally produced two collections. You cannot claim that it's not your vision and you've literally done two collections. That to me just doesn't make any sense. So I don't like that he's trying to distance himself from his own work. I find that really, really odd. It's like, just, say that these are your ideas for Gucci and keep it stepping. I don't understand this whole like, oh, this is not my vision type of thing. Because what's going to happen, and this is why I always say Demna just needs good PR. Even though I like him as a designer, I like what he's doing at Gucci. I liked a lot of what he did at Balenciaga, especially the earlier time. But when he talks, it just doesn't go well. He needs to not say things. Because the worst thing that can happen to Demna is his vision gets launched in February and it all looks like old Tom Ford. That's just going to backfire. It's going to make him look bad. So he needs to stop talking and just design the clothes. There's designers that should talk, that don't, step on their own toes. But I think Demna, every time he talks, he steps on his own toes. So I think it's not really that great. But anyway, going into the collection. So like I said, this collection is very Tom Ford. What this reminded me of, and Demna, for people that don't know, Demna actually did the photography for this collection, which was kind of interesting. It's very Tom Ford, and not just aesthetic, but even like philosophy and the way it's done. When you look at old Tom Ford collections, you see in the runway videos, I won't show you the videos because of copyright, but basically in the old Tom Ford Runaways, you would have like a spotlight that would follow the models, which would really focus on the clothing and also give you time to know what to focus on during the collection. And Demna has kind of brought that back with his own photography by, having this sort of spotlight effect on each of the looks. So I like that too, but that also just lets us know that this is very Tom Ford coded. Culture says, I enjoyed the collection, very Ford coded, but I do miss Michele. Yeah. The only reason he's saying that is because he's reviving Tom Ford memories first, which will then allow him to contextualize his later shows within Gucci's overall history. Fashion, but for dummies. To be fair, that's a good point because maybe I'm always looking at things from my perspective, and it's like, if you cover fashion like me, or you've just been into fashion, you know about Tom Ford's work. We get spoon-fed Tom Ford's work constantly. The big, coffee table book that everyone has is that black Tom Ford book. So yeah, we all know about his work. We all know what Tom Ford's Gucci looks like. So I guess for the everyday consumer, especially, actually, Luke, you're really right now that I think about it. The reason why you're really right, we've talked about this in past streams, where the typical Balenciaga customer that was a big fan of Demna doesn't really know anything about fashion. I remember I had that tweet where I was talking about, I was on the Balenciaga Reddit and they were saying that Demna basically created Balenciaga, and before Demna, no one cared about Balenciaga, as if Nicolas Ghesquière did not exist, as if Demna Gvasalia literally wasn't re-releasing stuff that Nicolas Ghesquière designed, like the City bag, for example. So those customers just don't know anything about fashion or fashion history. So it is a good point to say that Demna might have to spoon feed them an understanding of what Gucci historically is, and that Gucci, used to make luggage and leather goods and all this sort of stuff. To me, it's just so automatic, like it's so obvious, like we know that. But to be fair, the average consumer does not know that. And I learnt that during Demna's time at Balenciaga because they just didn't know that Nicolas Ghesquière basically like made all these crazy things that people still talk about at Balenciaga, like from the sneakers that were really famous to the bags that were really famous to a lot of the ready-to-wear pieces that were famous. So yeah, it's very, very, very necessary, to be honest. I wonder if he feels Kering hasn't given him full reign. Um, I feel like they are giving him full reign. What was that thing he said? He said at Balenciaga he was only given onions and potatoes. So, what was the phrase again? At Balenciaga he was only given onions and potatoes, but at Gucci he has the full range of ingredients. That was a hilarious quote from Demna, but yeah. But anyway, let's go look at the looks one by one. As we don't have a runaway video. So the collection opens with what Demna calls like lightweight tailoring. A lot of these tailored pieces are actually made in a very nice archive silk fabric, and they're kind of woven in a way to simulate like an aged feeling, which I thought was quite interesting. Now, this idea of lightweight tailoring, I do like, because I know Demna had a quote where he was saying that luxury doesn't have to be heavy. It was in the show notes, and he believes that luxury is actually about, things being constructed well, but also being lightweight. So it's easy to wear and seamless to wear. I do like that idea. I don't think that, fashion has to be bulky. There's this weird thing in fashion where everyone thinks that everything has to be a million GSM, and some people genuinely think that the heavier something feels, the better quality it is, which obviously isn't true if you know anything about quality and fabrics. But that's just what people think. So I think that I like that he's pushing against it. However, one argument and caveat I have to make, sometimes when designers say, oh, we're making everything lightweight, I always, put my nose up, because I'm wondering, are you doing it because it's a cost-cutting exercise, or are you doing it because that's actually your philosophy and, what you want to do? Because we know when Demna was at Balenciaga, they were cutting corners, and this is the same Kering, right? They were cutting corners. The Triple S was made in Italy. All of a sudden, it's lighter, and they started producing it in China. And then their argument was that, oh, the shoe was too heavy, so we wanted to make it lighter. That's the situation where, no, you're just cutting cost and finding an excuse for it. So sometimes I always, have to add that extra context. Like, are you doing it because that's your philosophy, or are you doing it because, you're trying to increase profit margins? But yeah, so going on, these are the same kind of tailored pieces across these earlier looks. Of course, here we have a mini skirt, and then we have a Jackie. And also, I do like that the Jackie bags were kind of reimagined in sort of a softer calf skin. There were also different versions in like a croc effect kind of bag. That was really cool. But moving on, I also think the heels were really interesting. Apparently, I haven't seen them, and I'm going to see them in person eventually when, these things either go into like some sort of re-see or in a showroom. But apparently they have like really nice cushioned footbeds. And that's so important, right? Because what do we always talk about when we talk about heels? They're really uncomfortable. They're painful to wear. They hurt your feet. So if they have this really amazing, footbed on the shoes, that's nice. That's nice for women to, not destroy their feet. Try because they want to look chic. You can also look good and not destroy your toes in the process. So that's cool to see. These shoes, these are going back to some of Demna's weird flat shoes, and he's been doing, even from the first collection, these really flat pointy shoes. These are his idea of ballerinas for men, and that's why he's had these ballerina shoes in men's sizes. I don't really like them at all. They look like genie shoes. However, I do appreciate innovation and people trying to do different things in fashion. I'll never be against that. So even though it's personally not for me and I don't want to look like, the genie from Aladdin, I think it's kind of a cool idea. Yeah, someone saying love the aviators. I love the aviators too. These are an idea that he's brought forward from his first collection. Of course, this is a very Tom Ford idea. Tom Ford designed a lot of aviators himself. Also, Tom Ford used to he's famous for wearing leather jackets and aviators anyway. So that's where the reference comes from. Let's go on. Once again, we've got the heels and the different tailored pieces and the aviators. This is something that I think commercially will work really well. I know he had the leather jacket. Because he was saying, and we'll get there, that he said in the archives, he was seeing that there are a lot of leather jackets. And he kind of was thinking, what is a way that I can modernize leather jackets to change the shape into kind of what people wear in the contemporary fashion space, but also look at the references to, all the different leather jackets in the archives. So that was really cool. I think the whole gross grain thing is going to sell because I think that people are obsessed with logos. Like people, even when it's not a logo, people just want you to know that it's Gucci. And it's like, if I wear the leather jacket with the gross grain on the sleeve or the denim with the gross grain on the side, everyone knows it's Gucci. Everyone knows my jeans are expensive. Consumers are basic like that. So these jeans, I think, are going to fly off the shelves. And I do think that Demna's Gucci is going to sell really well. And that's kind of the goal. That's why he's there. Like the aviators are definitely going to sell. The gross grain stuff, a lot of the footwear I think is going to sell. I think these reimaginations of Gucci bags are really going to sell. I'd like to see him design something new at Gucci, like a bag that really people take to, and not just, recontextualize Jackie bags or Dionysus bags and stuff like that. I'd like to see him do other stuff as well. Dolce says they can't convince me to care about this shit. Jeez. Tough crowd. Here we've got the massive Jackie, the same heels. Of course, this is a very Tom Ford styling thing, like exposing the chest. He did that in the first collection too. Here, the double G belt. There's not much to talk about here, other than, of course, he had some other footwear offerings. These are some of the tassel loafers he was offering. Here we've got like the Dionysus bag. He had it in many different, there's ones with sequins, there's ones with like, I think faux fur. What do you guys think actually about these Jackies and Dionysus bags he's been bringing back? Do you guys think that people are going to take to those and like buy those, especially the kind of weird ones with the fur and the different fabrics? What do you guys think about that? And here, once again, we've got the tailoring going on. We've got the ballerinas for men once again. This colorway of this style of shoe looks atrocious, but they obviously know what they're doing. The merchandisers know what they're doing, and people are going to buy that because, like I said, logos, signifiers, people love those things. We've got the leather jackets, which are very Tom Ford. You've got the sportswear pieces. I also think what Demna has done, and this is an idea that he's carried over from the first collection to this collection, is he's designing clothing for every different kind of customer and character. Therefore, in every one of his collections, at least the 2 collections so far, there's something there to wear for every different kind of customer. And that's obviously deliberate. I think they are struggling financially and they want every customer to see themselves in the products and to find something that they can buy. I love the flare split jeans / pants. Yeah. Not sure the ballerina shoes work. They're probably growers though. Yeah. Then maybe they might grow on me eventually, but right now I just think they look like genie shoes. This is one of the tiny Alessandro Michele, things that he put in there. There were a few pussy bows across the collection, but not too many, to be honest. Not too many. Here we have the classic loafers, but once again, these ones have spikes on them. The idea behind this, according to the show notes, is that Demna kind of wanted to reimagine this idea of DIY. So when you buy your own loafers and you try to like bedazzle them or make them interesting, this kind of punk energy that people used to add to their clothing where they customize their footwear. So that was the idea behind why the loafers have spikes. Here we've got this like faux fur effect and then the croc effect on the shoes. This bag also, the gross grain, like really heavy like weekender bag, the really big one. I think this might work really well. I think it might sell well too. This is another thing he's been doing in these collections. Like every now and then we get like some form of a trunk being held by a model to kind of remind you about the history of Gucci and the fact that, they started making leather goods and luggage. I mean, if you guys know about the history of Gucci as a brand, Gucci was a busboy at the Savoy Hotel, and he was very inspired by the lifestyle of the rich people that would stay at the Savoy Hotel, and he wanted to make a brand that kind of mirrored that. That's why, the horse bit, the things to do with like horses, the luggage, the leather goods, that's kind of the history of the brand. So he's kind of reintroducing this to the consumers because, once again, we've talked about this earlier, the typical young Gen Z or even younger customer, I don't know if they don't read or they just don't care to know, but they just don't know about fashion history. So you kind of have to spoon feed them all this information slowly, which is kind of what Demna is doing. And that's a point that Luke made that I thought was a really good point. Here, once again, we have luggage. This was a piece that everyone was talking about, this sort of like scuba diving, sort of surfer wetsuit, which is kind of like a mixture between this wetsuit and a bodycon leather jacket. But it's actually, there's 2 versions, one in wool and then one in leather, which is really cool. Here we've got the heels, but with different studs and the horse bit. Yeah, this is the gross grain leather jacket I was talking about. We've actually seen Demna wear this. Let me see if I can get the picture of Demna wearing it, because he was wearing it, he wore it to something recently. Yeah, this is where he was wearing it. But yeah, the whole idea behind this jacket, once again, like I said, he was looking at the archive of Gucci and he found there to be a lot of leather jackets, and he was finding a way to kind of modernize it. I think this will sell really well. It depends on the price, because this looks like the kind of thing that could be super expensive. Yes, it was the Lacma. There we go. But this looks like the kind of thing that could be super, super expensive. But if they price it well, I think that, you know, it could sell really well. It just really, really depends on the pricing. You'd be surprised how much resonance his taste of style still has among spoiled Chinese rich kids in London, aka at UAE. Do not make me laugh. Do not make me laugh. In what way is it modernized? Oh, it's the shape. So Tom Ford leather jackets, if you look, they fit a lot tighter. So I guess what Demna means by it being modernized is just that nowadays clothing is a bit more loose fitting. It's a bit more wide. It's a bit more boxy. And this shape of a leather jacket is kind of a middle ground between the really oversized stuff he was doing at Balenciaga and then the older Tom Ford leather jackets that fitted a lot tighter to the body. So I think that's kind of what he means by, you know, modernizing it. It's more to do with the shape than anything else. Although styling wise, I don't know whose idea it was to style this, but this styling is terrible. We need to stop. Where is Lotta Volkova when you need her? We need to not have the gross grain jacket with the gross grain denim with the gross grain bag. That looks atrocious. That does not make me want to buy it, if that makes sense. That does not look good. Here once again, the ode to Alessandro Michele with the pussy bow blouse. Also, the color red is very Tom Ford. Red is a very big Tom Ford color. It was a color that he liked to use. And I mean, there's the famous tuxedo, the red tuxedo that Tom Ford designed that, you know, is in the ether somewhere. Oh, not the gross grain on the gross grain, but here once again we have another idea, but this time it's like a denim, a wash denim version of the jacket with the gross grain, and then of course matching denim. But the whole matchy thing, styling wise, I don't think it looks great. Moving on, this is a very Alessandro Michele aesthetic once again. But yeah, at this point you guys get the collection. It was also very funny because a lot of the looks in the collection also referenced like celebrities and pop culture. This look here just reminds me of TikTok. You know, it's a different idea of what we see on TikTok, right? So normally on TikTok we see people wearing a white tee, the boxy kind of flared blue denim, and then loafers. This is kind of a less interesting version of that. This is like, you know, just slightly flared denim with the loafers with spikes and then the V-neck t-shirt with the gross grain belt. This is like the TikTok, but make it more basic. Make it like a million times more basic. Oh, I like these heels in pink. I like the monogram in pink, to be fair. I think it looks nice. It looks a lot nicer than some of the other colorways. These slides look like the fake slides that you always see at the flea market. Obviously, we know that Demna and even Alessandro Michele did this at Gucci too, where he kind of did this fake Gucci collection where the clothing was deliberately meant to look like fake Gucci clothing. But when I see those slides, I'm like, yeah, this literally looks like fake Gucci from top to bottom. This is Gucci and this is what I mean by Demna is designing something for every kind of customer. This is for the Miami kid. The Gucci slides with the Gucci shorts, with the Gucci shirt, with the Gucci bag. This is for the hot weather kids, the rich kids in Mexico, the rich kids in Miami. When they're not wearing the Versace silk shirts, they're wearing their Gucci outfit. I can find the slides at the dollar store. So this piece was actually cool, to be fair. This kind of like faux fur sort of thing. So these coats were actually made of From the show notes, they said strips and pieces of silk, goat hair, and feathers that they kind of made together to make shilling. Now, something I will give Demna credit for, and this is something that I definitely felt like when I was in Paris not too long ago when he did that 10-year retrospective of Balenciaga, where you really got to see a lot of stuff that he's done over the years at Balenciaga and the construction that has and the techniques that have gone into it. I do appreciate that a lot of the times in his ready-to-wear, there are quite some advanced techniques that they use to make a lot of these pieces. This piece is definitely one of them. So I definitely appreciate it because I can imagine it feels really nice to wear based on the materials that they've used. So I have to give him credit on that. Someone saying not as interesting as Louis Trotter's faux fur. True. I do like it though. I do definitely like it. This is a nothing burger of a look once again. Okay, here again, once again, we have this sort of faux fur technique that I'm talking about. Really, really cool. Also, I like the shape. I like the silhouette of this. One of the more interesting pieces in the collection. I like the shape of these trousers. My issue is the fabric. So I don't like ultra lightweight, wide trousers because when you wear really lightweight trousers and you're walking and the wind blows, it gives a horrible silhouette. It just looks like the shape of your leg and then some fabric on the side. So anytime I wear, really wide fitting trousers, I need it to be a really structured trouser, either made with like wool or like quite a strong, cotton or something. But yeah, I can't do this sort of lightweight, baggy stuff. I don't like the way it's not flattering, at least not on me. When I'm walking, especially in the UK, because it's really windy. Really, really windy. Here we have the bodycon leather. Once again, we've got a take on David Beckham. This is a typical footballer outfit. The skin-tight V-neck with the white trousers and the Gucci sneakers. This might as well be a runway for a football collection. This might as well be a Premier League footballer runway, to be honest. Some more cool looks. I do like the shape of the denim. I do like the split on the side and how it opens up the foot on the heels. I like the styling. This is what I mean. It's so weird how there's really good styling in a look like this, but then in other looks, the styling is like atrocious, really weird. They need to hire Lotta, like ASAP. That's exactly what I love about wearing on plissé pants. They flow so nicely in the wind. Oh yeah, 100%. And I think the pleats help in, even when the wind is blowing, it's quite flattering. But I also would say that en plissé holds its shape quite well. Even though they're lightweight, funny enough, but they do hold their shape quite well, which helps. Yeah, Jack Grealish. Is Jack Grealish still an ambassador for Gucci? I think he is. So yeah, that look here, Jack Grealish is definitely going to be seen wearing this head to toe, for sure. For sure. He's definitely going to wear that. Once again, kind of like the footballer sort of, bad boy sort of thing, topless. This is the kind of fit that you see athletes wear when they go on holiday. So they're topless with like loafers and a duffel. Like I've seen NFL players and like football players look like this on holiday, actually. Oh yeah, did people not know Jack Grealish was a Gucci ambassador? Literally. Like Jack Grealish was literally a Gucci ambassador. Did people not know this? Maybe because obviously like I follow football so closely. Yeah, I just Googled it. Jack Grealish became a global ambassador for Gucci in 2022, signing a significant 7-figure deal that marked an unprecedented move for the luxury brand to partner with a sports person. Often seen wearing their apparel even before the official announcement and featuring in Gucci Town on Roblox. And all he wears is like the worst Gucci known to man. Any of the bad pieces that Gucci makes is what he wears. Like stuff like this, stuff like this, like all the most cliche, terrible looking, Gucci pieces. That's kind of what he wears, which makes sense. He's a footballer. Like most footballers dress really bad. But yeah, this is literally Gucci's official website also. Of them talking about Gucci Town welcomes Jack Grealish, and obviously they had the Roblox collab. But yeah, so I didn't know people didn't know that. Like he's literally an ambassador for Gucci. Still, it seems. So some of those looks, when I was looking at some of these looks, I'm like, oh, this is kind of like Jack Grealish football fan core. The poster child for Chavs. Yeah, Jack Grealish definitely is. I mean, that's how Chavs dress, no? Like, how Jack Grealish dresses is very chavvy. To be fair, it is very chavvy. Very, very chavvy. Here we have this kind of snakeskin effect going on. I like this jacket. I like the boots too. This was the all velvet piece. Trousers, the duffel. You can't really see the footwear though. I'm curious. Are those just okay? Those are just like velvet slippers. So this is kind of just an extra luxurious sort of lounge outfit. Although it's going to be so expensive, unless you're like a millionaire, I don't think you're gonna wear this to lounge around. I definitely wouldn't. This would be going out stuff, just based on the price. Some more of it once again. Some of the boots, track jackets, gross grain on the loafers. This sort of velvet sheer pieces, that's also very Tom Ford. Here we've got some nightwear, once again, the PJs, the slippers. Looks like a toiletry bag to me. Gucci, some certain products just Gucci shouldn't, like Gucci toiletry bags look so bad. Obviously there's a way to like make it look nice, but this does not look great. I would not want to be caught dead or alive having a toiletry bag that looks like that. That's insane. This is also a really cool look. Look at the bag. Chav is a working class person with zero taste. No. I don't think being a chav has anything to do with taste. I think being a chav is just about class. So as you guys know, British culture is very classist. So chavs are people that are working class most likely. They talk a certain way. Like, do you know, are you all right, mate? Like, how you doing, mate? Like, are we over there, mate? That's how chavs talk. They dress a certain way. This is, and chav, because classism in the UK has nothing to do with money. I feel like it's quite different to a lot of other places. Like you can't go into a higher class sometimes, even when you earn more money. So like a footballer can be a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, and still be a chav because when they buy clothing, they dress like Jack Grealish, which is associated with like chavs with money, right? Like Essex, like rich kids in Essex, they dress like that. They drive Lamborghinis and they wear like all over print Gucci pieces and they're really boisterous and they cause a nuisance. So I think it's more to do with class. It's not really necessarily about taste. Obviously, what chavs do and generally kind of how they present themselves is seen as in bad taste, but a lot of times it isn't just about that. Sometimes you can be called a chav just because you sound a certain way. You could literally dress normally and you'll still be called a chav because you have a certain accent. So I think it's quite complex. There's like elements to it, to be honest. Grealish doesn't remind me of chav, to be fair. No, Grealish is a chav. I definitely think Grealish is a chav. Burberry football hooligans, those are chavs, 100%. 100%. Chav is kind of in international lower class people who got money in 2000s and buy expensive things without knowing it. So yeah, so you can have rich chavs, you can have poor chavs, you can have middle class chavs. So it's all over the spectrum. It's more about the way you talk, the way you dress, where you go on holiday. So like chavs would go to Shagaloof would go to Magaluf on holiday, or they'll go to Ibiza on holiday, or they'll go to Ayia Napa on holiday, or there's like island holidays, or they go to like Benidorm. Someone who's not a chav probably wouldn't go there because they don't want to be around chavs, so they would go on holiday to Japan or to Rome, or so it's kind of like the way you live your life, where you go on holiday, how you dress, how you sound. It's like so many elements. That's why I said it's kind of complicated. Obviously, I've grown up in London and the UK mainly, so I kind of understand kind of the nuance within it. But yeah, it's kind of interesting there. Is there a proper way to talk? Of course there is. The Queen's English. If you speak with a what do we call it? Received pronunciation. Received pronunciation essentially is you pronounce words the way that it says you should pronounce them in the dictionary. So I wouldn't consider myself to have received pronunciation. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle. Someone who has received pronunciation, you can tell. It's quite obvious. That's kind of like technically the proper way to speak if we were in terms of this like class conversation. So someone that speaks like that would be associated with being like upper class or upper middle class, to be honest. Ethnicity is also important. This is true. Chavs are pretty much white. Yeah, there's no yeah, I don't think I've ever thought someone is a chav that isn't white. Yeah, it's mainly only white. I don't even think you can have a chav that isn't white, to be honest. It's kind of weird. But yeah, moving on. We had the chav conversation. We've got some briefs once again. If you kind of want to wear head to toe Gucci to your next beach visit, leather duffels once again. We've got the faux fur technique, Dionysus bags. And here we've kind of got these sort of nighttime looks, it seems, as the last pieces in the collection. So yeah, that's the Gucci collection. Do I like it? Because some of the pieces I would wear, yes. Is it an interesting collection? No. Is there too much Tom Ford in this collection and not enough Demna? Yes. So I'm really looking forward to this Demna's actual debut, which they keep saying, which will be in February. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does, because they keep, pushing away this idea that, oh, this is not my vision. It's not my full vision. It's not my real vision. So I'm so looking forward to what they do in February. I'm expecting fireworks, the way they keep saying this. Okay, someone's asking me my favorite look. Let me have a look through these t-shirts and pajamases and bathrobes and jackets and all that. What is my favorite look? Let me go through. The thing is, I'm more looking at pieces. So the aviator sunglasses, I definitely will pick those up at some point. So I like the sunglasses. I mean, the footwear in this collection definitely isn't for me. I would get the leather jacket if it didn't have that massive gross grain. I might still get it, but I don't know. I'm still in two minds about that, because I'm in the market for a leather jacket. I'm looking at Eddie Slimane Celine leather jackets. I'm looking at old Tom Ford leather jackets. I'm looking at Saint Laurent Paris leather jacket. So I'm actually in the market for one. So we'll see about that. What else did I personally like for myself in the collection? I mean, some of the looks that I like this fur coat here, faux fur coat. It's not menswear. I think my favorite pieces in the collection were actually menswear pieces. Like I did like this look with the faux fur and the red heels. Um, I liked a lot of the earlier looks with the tailoring, to be honest. I just liked the way it was styled. But yeah, not much there, to be honest. It's so commercial. It's like if I have so many of these pieces, like I have a track jacket, I have a long coat, I have blazers, so it's just like a lot of it is a bit of a nothing burger. Okay, someone's saying I like the tassel loafers. I think because I just have so many loafers and I have tassel loafers already, so I'm not in the market for it. But would we actually complain if every single reference point of what Demna is doing is heavily influenced by Tom Ford for forever? I don't know. I think it just depends. I think when I covered this on Instagram and TikTok, a lot of people are kind of mad about it. So it seems like a lot of people are tired about Tom Ford's aesthetic, which is interesting. Because when Alessandro Michele was there, everyone was like, bring Tom Ford back. And then Sabato De Sarno kind of tried to do Tom Ford and people were like, we don't like it. And then Demna is doing Tom Ford and people are like, we don't like it. So I think people need to make up their minds about what version and what vision of Gucci they actually want. By the way, how do you feel about the Michael Jacksonification of everything fashion country? Currently, the military jackets and importantly, the aviator sunglasses being just pushed for spring. I mean, so this is definitely something I've been seeing across the board. However, I will say in the case of Gucci, it's more to do with Tom Ford. I mean, Tom Ford used to wear aviators. Like all these signifiers are to do with Tom Ford, to be fair. But what you're saying, I have been seeing it across fashion, like the loafers, the white socks, the gloves. I've been seeing it a lot in menswear collections. Wait, Dami's saying they want the misogyny. Oh, are you talking about when Tom Ford used to like the way he used to present women? Yeah. I think Tom Ford got oversaturated, and for some, it's a bit early for it to come around. For others, especially young people who weren't around, it feels fresh. Yeah, that's fair enough. Also, Dami, if you're free, I'll share the link in the chat, and you can hop in and share your thoughts. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the Gucci collection. Let me just share with you a few quotes via Demnagram. So Demna said, my challenge and my mission as a designer is to create a product that triggers desire. I want people to have FOMO about the products. Now, once again, I love Demna, but Demna should stop talking, because what about this collection does he think? And I know this was a big theme. I mean, in the Vogue review, they talked about this idea of fear of missing out. But what about this collection, realistically, if we're being really honest, triggers FOMO? What actually triggers FOMO in this collection? Nothing. So moving on, let's let's read some more quotes. There are some other quotes. I think they were on Demnagram, but if not, I'll get. Oh yeah, it was this one. In my idea of luxury today, heaviness and stiffness is not really a sign of durability like it used to be a century ago. Luxury is about comfort, and I totally agree with that. But I do think questions need to be asked about, are they doing that because they're trying to cut corners and save cost? Or are they doing it because they actually just want everything to be light to the body? Because that is very good. I want a leather jacket that's thick so I can wear it in the winter. And then I want a leather jacket that looks exactly the same and drapes on the body exactly the same, but it's lightweight, so I'm not sweating like a crazy person when it's warmer. So these are things that people actually need to wear, to be honest. The lack of FOMO is the problem with almost all of fashion right now. Everyone has all these garments already. Exactly. So that's what I don't understand what Demna is talking about when he says, I want people to have FOMO about the product. It's like you're not really going to have FOMO about products that you already own. Like track jackets and leather jackets and blue denim and duffel bags, and classic loafers. Like, people already own these products, so I don't I don't really understand any of that. So yeah, I just, like I said, Demna. It sounds really mean that he like should stop talking, but it's not that designers should stop talking. It's him specifically, because every time he says something, it always works against him. Always. Like I've actually never seen a quote from Demna where it works in his favor or actually makes sense in the relevance of like what he's designing. It never makes sense. It never aligns. It's never in line with what he's designing. It always kind of is in contradiction with what he's presenting, like every single time. I've actually never, you guys, if you can, point out to me one quote that Demna has made since he started at Vetements where it aligns with what he's actually doing. Like, I'll actually wait. I'll see what you guys come up with in the chat. I'll have to keep out for more Demna quotes from now on. Yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Gucci. Obviously, let me know what you guys think. Next, of course, we have the Dior, Jonathan Anderson's Dior collection, his pre-fall 26 menswear collection. This is his second menswear collection at Dior. And there's a lot to talk about, many different ideas in this collection. Hello.
Hello,
You
can
might
you hear
have to,
me?
there's a bit of an echo. So you might have to
Oh,
put your
yeah.
headphones in or something.
Oh, yeah. All right. Wait, there's an echo right now.
Uh okay, not anymore. Not anymore.
Okay, great. Howdy.
How are you? How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. Yeah, it's been a good evening. I've enjoyed the stream so far. Thank you for having me on.
Quick
I've waited for this moment.
quick thoughts on Gucci before we move to Dior.
Um, I
Not the
think
clearing
Gucci
of the
was.
throat.
I preferred not having this collection for Gucci. I don't believe in I think the photographs are really really nice though. I do like whoever took the photos is phenomenal. Fairly,
Shout out to
I
Demna.
like that.
Photography
I
by
like the
Demna.
spotlight and the oh yeah. See, look, that's good art direction. But as for the clothes, yeah, like it's yeah. I don't believe he's developing any sort of FOMO, considerably. I think it's yeah, he has a false sense of what the people genuinely want, and yeah, like it's yeah, I want to actually see the real collection though. I'm actually anticipating it. Like I'm kind of hyped about that, but not necessarily this.
Same, but I think he's kind of once again shot himself in the foot because he keeps saying that this is not my full vision. Now we are all like waiting patiently for that full vision. Um, so yeah, I think he's kind of shot himself in the foot with that one, to be honest. Wait, Al says, I saw a guy unironically rock dark academia in Ginza the other day. Worst thing I've seen in a while. That is hilarious. um, don't know what happened to Dami. He's kind of disappeared for a second, but moving on to Dior. There's a lot to talk about with the Dior collection by Dario Anderson. Like I was saying earlier, this is his second menswear collection at Dior. A lot of the ideas kind of following through from the past collections, to be honest. I think I was kind of confused by this collection. I mean, of course, we have a lot of elements from the earlier collections. We have the shorts that are obviously inspired by the Delft dress from 1948. But in this case, they're kind of modernized and made into cargo shorts. We've seen kind of a lot of these ideas. And I actually want to show you guys the show notes because this is like a big inspiration point in the collection, right? So in the show notes, if you guys can see it, let me zoom in so you guys can see it a lot clearer. So in the show notes, they talk about things like, a sense of formality and the collection having this idea of like a preppy ease, weaving things from the Dior archives and classic tropes of class and pieces that have endured the test of time. They're talking about things like the bar jacket, the frock coats, the tail coats, the rugby shirt, the striped shirt. And quite honestly, when you look at the collection, it gives off that vibe. I really did not like this collection. And I'll tell you why. This whole like preppy vibe, what it reminded me of is kind of like if you were to design a wardrobe, it's like super normcore. It's like if you were to design a wardrobe for like the modern rich man or like the private school kids or like country club Republicans in the US or like the wardrobe for Succession or like, and then mixing, like weaving in elements of old couture into that. So kind of like these plain pieces that are worn by private school kids. This looks like a private school kid going to PE, kind of the shorts with the hoodie, with the really expensive duffel bag because they're rich kids, and then some really expensive sneakers on top of it, some designer sneakers. This is literally like rich kid private school core. The loafers with the shorts and a blazer, but then just weaving in these kind of like, techniques. Maybe that like the collar is slightly different. The loafers kind of have this unique shape. One thing I will say about JW Anderson's Dior, whatever this last is that he's been using for the footwear, I really like it. I really like the shape of his footwear. I think they're really good. But so yeah, for the most part, what I got from this collection was this kind of sort of, and they mentioned it in the show notes, this sort of preppy country club, private school, everyday, ubiquitous sort of idea, and it's kind of boring. The bar jacket was interesting. This is something that he's brought from, the earlier collections, this kind of cropped bar jacket, obviously referencing the original bar suit and all that sort of stuff. But he was talking about how he wants to make the bar jacket for men. So it's kind of like a menswear bar jacket. So this is the shape that I guess we're going to see in more seasons. We've already seen it in 2 seasons now. But yeah, just like looks like this, like shorts. But obviously what's different here, okay, cool. One collar is up, one collar is down in JW Anderson playful fashion. But for the most part, it's just like not interesting. It's just not interesting. The whole preppy idea, but made more luxurious, I'm just not interested in that at all. I just don't find it interesting, not even remotely. Of course, once again, they have these sort of like old, and so what they tried to do, I'll tell you what JW Anderson was doing in this collection. I just don't think it landed and I don't think it worked. So what he was doing is he's kind of contrasting old money tropes with what is the wardrobe of like the contemporary Dior customer today. So it's kind of like when you look at the backdrop of the photography, this was shot in a very historic building, right? So you can see like the background, it looks very decadent, it looks very old money. But then there's like a massive contrast with the clothing that you're looking at, which is very preppy and very kind of how the rich person of today dresses. So he's kind of trying to play with different class signifiers from different, moments in time. I just don't think it works though. I just think there's a way more interesting way of doing it, right? I just don't think the way he did it is interesting in any way. But I think it's a good idea. I just don't think it was executed in an interesting way. We even see like the Dior B, like the Dior Lucky B, that was a focus. I know that was on the Delt shorts, I'm calling them. They had a lot of those different motifs on the shorts, the cargo shorts there. Once again, just going through the looks. Here are the jackets, some more preppiness. The tie, once again, this is also bringing it back from that first collection. Also, something I find really strange about these JW Anderson Dior menswear collections is this over branding, like Dior being written on everything. I don't know if that's like coming from above and like the merchandising and them saying that it's a requirement to have Dior written on everything. But I do think it's kind of it is very, very excessive, to be honest. It's really excessive. Now, in JW Anderson's defense, it is a pre-fall collection. Pre-fall collections are normally way more commercial than other collections. That's why on the streams we call pre-fall collections filler. But even with that being considered, even with pre-fall collections being, super commercial, this is still not interesting. Any way you try to spin it, it's still not interesting. Like any way you try to, whatever angle you're coming at it from, it's still not interesting. So yeah, I guess it's kind of, this collection is interesting if you want to look like, if you want to look like a private school kid that wears Dior. That's basically when it's interesting. The pieces I did like were stuff like this, because this is an idea that's from his first collection, right? His first collection, he looked at 17th and 18th century menswear, and he referenced that and was finding ways to modernize that. So considering that this collection in some way is kind of a continuation of that collection, I expected him to kind of develop those ideas and develop those references into even more interesting things. This look here is kind of like one of those ideas coming to fruition. I just wish that there were more of these ideas and he finds more interesting ways of modernizing these like 17th and 18th century Dior menswear ideas. But I just don't think we got enough of that in the collection. And instead, what we got were really just plain t-shirts with plain trousers and plain loafers. That was what we got. Like shorts. This is, I'm not exaggerating. This look is what people wear to PE in private school. They're rich kids, so all their clothing is designer. They wear the shorts with the designer sneakers and the designer hoodie with the really expensive leather duffel bag because they're rich kids, so they can afford stuff like that. Yeah, Dior isn't from the 17th or 18th century, but that's just what JW Anderson is very inspired by art history, clothing history, films. It's just his design philosophy. So as a designer, he's always going to look at those kind of things and kind of try to find ways to reference that. He's always done that. Even at his namesake label, at Loewe, he was doing the same thing. I just think at Loewe it was playful. And I think the playfulness that I associate with JW Anderson's work, whether that's at his namesake label, which I loved, at Loewe that he did, which I was also a big fan of, I don't know, this Dior is really lacking any sort of playfulness or humor or, there's no spark, there's no edge, there's no humor, there's no playfulness. All of it has been zapped out of his Dior. And I'm really trying to put my finger on it, especially for the menswear. The women's wear isn't too bad, to be fair. The women's wear, his debut women's wear collection was not that bad. It was like, okay. And there were some really nice women's wear pieces, but the menswear, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, especially with these collections. We missed the humor his collections had in Loewe. 100%. 100%. Not Luke saying the women's wear is worse. The women's wear is definitely not worse. The women's wear definitely isn't worse. It comes to a point where the customer cannot rationalize buying it without the label somewhere. Yeah, unfortunately. I don't know if it's just me, but the more ornate looks look more like costuming than luxury clothes. Interesting. I'm sorry, but this look, I just cannot believe I just can't believe that this is actually like in a Dior collection. Like that's insane. Um, but yeah, he talks about it on his Instagram page. Some more details from the Dior collection, some of the jewelry pieces. Once again, but yeah, like they said in the show notes, that they describe it as medieval heraldry is juxtaposed with 18th century flourishes, a sense of formality with preppy ease. I just don't think it landed. I personally don't think it landed. Someone called Dana Thomas. Yeah, Dana Thomas has been going in. Let me go on Dana Thomas's Twitter. She's been going in on JW Anderson for his red carpet looks, which once again, and this is what I mean about, I don't know what it is about JW Anderson right now. He's just not, he's lost his mojo. I don't know what it is for now. Like his red carpet looks have been terrible. And I say I am a JW Anderson fan. So this is not coming from, a bad place. I'm literally a fan of his work, and I've said you can go through all my reviews of JW Anderson in the past, like Loewe, his namesake label. Most of them are positive reviews, but his red carpet looks at Dior have consistently been terrible across the big luxury brands. I would say that consistently, JW Anderson has the worst red carpet look so far since he started. Jonathan Anderson also talks a great deal about craftsmanship. Is it possible that there's a place where this collection actually spikes, but it's not obvious from the runaway images? So, if it's about craft, so it's like, oh, we made this preppy wardrobe, but we use this decadent wool. It doesn't make it more interesting. I think quality is one thing. I don't give luxury brands points for providing really high quality because they charge insane prices. So I don't think that's like an interesting point of difference unless you're like doing unique techniques, like what Louis Trotter was doing at Bottega with the faux fur, or even what Demna was doing at Gucci with the faux fur. Like that's an interesting thing that we can talk about when it comes to the techniques. But outside of that, you also aesthetically and storytelling wise, there has to be merit. You can't just be a designer. You can't, as a designer, design a plain t-shirt and then be like, oh, but it's made out of this kind of wool that we've never seen before. It's like, okay, but ultimately there's no storytelling in the silhouette of a t-shirt that has no interesting shape or pattern or print or silhouette. There's not more that piece is saying other than, oh, we use an interesting wool. So that's the issue with the collection. The historical expressions of Versailles were born out of sartorial arms race due to kings consolidating the aristocracy of France into his political capital, a decorated cage. Yeah, I saw a lot of conversation online about the fact that part of the reason why a lot of rich people now, especially like the whole quiet luxury trend, even though I think quiet luxury is a really stupid trend because rich people are not a monolith. There are rich people that dress like rock stars, and then there are rich people that wear suits because they work in business and they go to business meetings all the time. And there are rich people that made all their money in the arts, so they dress like artists, like they wear loads of colors and they wear yoji and all that sort of stuff. It's not a monolith. So I think the idea of like how to look old money and people kind of cosplaying and turning into caricatures is really stupid. However, people have been relaying this back to things like the French Revolution, right? Where because of the decadence that the upper class in France was showcasing at a time when people were really struggling, when they, when the people rebelled and revolted, and were kind of killing a lot of these upper class people, they started dressing like everyday people to kind of hide in plain sight. And people are kind of trying to say that now we're in an economic downturn. And so therefore people are kind of wearing these really expensive pieces, but also hiding in plain sight. So what JW Anderson is doing, in essence, is providing these garments and the perfect wardrobe for rich people to hide in plain sight. That's basically what people are saying. But yeah, some of the Dior, like, look, this is another Dior red carpet look. Dana Thomas says Dior is in big trouble. Jonathan Anderson has no sense of proportion or fit, nor does his atelier. That corset top looks like it's about to fall down. Disaster, hashtag fail. But yeah, his red carpet looks have consistently been really, really bad. Really, really, really bad. So yeah, I don't know what's going on in the Dior camp, but I hope that things are turned around. That theory would fly except for the Dior logo everywhere. That's so true. That's so true. It is true. Damn, even the atelier caught a stray. Yeah, I don't agree with her because that's the same atelier that, some of the people that are still at Dior are people that have been there since, John Galliano days, right? So clearly it's not the atelier, it's the person that's telling the atelier what to make. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the atelier, to be honest. Like even Maria Grazia Curie, her red carpet looks were not this bad. So it has nothing to do with the atelier. It has everything to do with the ideas that JW Anderson is telling them to make, to be honest. He really does struggle with proportions at times. Yeah, and I mean, that's the problem because red carpet looks are a bit more classical. You can't really do the sort of playful, off-kilter, on-purpose kind of thing. It kind of looks odd on a red carpet, and it almost never lands. So yeah. Yeah, all they can do is follow the patterns for real. Exactly. Facts. Someone saying I miss Raf Dior. Fair enough. Leo says, but even without the logo, I would argue that he is quite literally steering the upper class back into the flashy and obvious appearance of wealth. Yeah. Yeah. What did he say? Because you can't ignore the context of the clothes and the inspiration he is attempting to emulate. Yeah. If you watch the Dior and I from Raf Simons, yeah, I actually did a watch party for Dior and I on the Discord. So join the Discord if you haven't. Sometimes we watch random fashion documentaries and films. But anyway, it's the same people, and they wouldn't dare switch them because they have so much history. It takes years to train one. Yeah. Like I've said, some of these people are the same people that have been there since John Galliano. So yeah, because Raf Simons came after John Galliano. So it's like, no, literally. Like, it's the same people. So it has nothing to do with the atelier. Do you think he's proving the point that lots of people said they created about him when he got the appointment that he can't dress female bodies? Yeah, I think he is kind of proving them wrong. Right, sorry, considering how bad how bad his red carpet looks have been. Because a lot of his red carpet looks just don't look flattering on the body for women. They just don't. Like, they really don't. They really don't. Like, look at this, for example. Look at how this sits on the body. It just doesn't look flattering. It literally just does not look flattering. It's just, I don't know what it is. I can't even put my finger on it. I'm just trying to figure out why all the red carpet looks like. We got this look too on the red carpet. Like it's been bad. It's been a bad run on the red carpet when it comes to JW Anderson, honestly. Like really, really bad. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Dior collection. Definitely did not like it. Yeah, just wasn't for me. of course, that's my opinion. If you guys have a different opinion, definitely let me know. Definitely let me know. Next, of course, we're going to talk about a big show. We're going to talk about the Chanel show that everyone basically has been talking about, and I haven't really shared my thoughts about until now, basically. But so much to talk about, so many points that need to be made. So this basically is Matthieu Blazy's second Chanel collection. It's also his first Métiers d'Art collection. For people that don't know kind of what the Métiers d'Art is, I can kind of go on a... Should I go? Let me go on the rabbit hole. Fuck it. So there's a subsidiary of Chanel. It's called Perfection. It was established in 1985, and the goal of this subsidiary... let me just get this ad off the screen. Essentially is to preserve the craft and skills of artisans, right? So in France, historically, you have these like specialist workshops, these specialist craftspeople, people that have been doing embroidery for generations, footwear for generations, pleating for generations, all these kind of things. And so over time, a lot of these sort of craft houses have been going extinct because of how globalized fashion has become. Back when all the big couturiers, when we're talking about, you know, the Christian Diors of the world, we're talking about the Cristobal Balenciagas of the world, we're talking about the El Schiaparellis, the Coco Chanels, all these kind of, when they were, you know, couturiers back then, they used to use all these craftspeople because they all used to make haute couture, and that was actually the main thing they were selling. Outside of maybe like perfume for like Chanel and like millinery and stuff like that. And they had the customers for that who are willing to pay really high prices. But as fashion steered more and more into ready to wear, into leather goods, into belts and like all these different trinkets and stuff, and moving production to China, it put all these different craft houses out of business. And it meant that all this expertise that had been built for years and years kind of started to fizzle out. So I think it's so beautiful, considering that Chanel makes billions and billions, that they've reinvested and acquired a lot of these craft houses. And so anytime you see like a Chanel Métiers d'Art collection, this is a collection that is using all the skills of a lot of these craft houses that Chanel has acquired over the years, essentially, or they work closely with. So there are so many of them that I can go into. So the first one I won't talk about all of them. You can see some of them on the screen here. On the screen, I think they're missing one. This Wikipedia page needs to be updated because I don't think they have Lognon, like the pleating house. I can't see that there. There's quite a few other famous ones. So yeah, I think they're missing a few. But just to kind of go through some of the craft houses that are really important. So the first one is Maison de Rue. Now, Maison de Rue is really, really important. Now, why is it important? This was actually the first craft house that Chanel acquired. Chanel acquired them in 1985, and their expertise is making buttons and specialty jewelry. So they are decorative, like button makers, essentially. So that's their area of expertise. Also, it's important to mention that these craft houses don't only make things for Chanel. So yes, they are owned by Chanel, but they, like, you'll see a lot of these like Lesage making stuff for like Dior and stuff. Like, so it's not just Chanel. They kind of make clothing for a lot of the luxury brands, especially when it comes to couture collections. So I thought that would be interesting to mention. So you have Maison de Rue, you have Lesage, which is like the super, super famous one. I'm sure almost all of you that are really into fashion would have heard about Lesage, like really, really famous. They are famous for embroidery. That's like their area of expertise. Really legendary French maison. They do embroidery for a lot of haute couture houses. They do tapestries. I believe they were founded in 1924, and they've been acquired by Chanel. The really important thing about Lesage also is they have their school where they teach people how to do embroidery. So not only are they preserving, the craft between, the embroidery within the house, making this amazing embroidery and craft for all the different houses, they also teach people. That's really, really important so they can keep the craft alive. But I think Lesage is like probably one of the more famous brands, but as you guys see on their Instagram page, they said official account for Lesage the Embroidery Atelier. So that's really famous. Another house that's really famous is Lemery. So they make like feathers. As you can see in their description, they said they're specialized in feathers, couture, flowers, plissé, and textile. So they're known for feathers mainly, but they do all sorts of like other pieces. As you can see, all the different like feathers they're creating here. This is a piece that they created for the Chanel show, the Métiers, the art show that we're going to talk about. So they make all these different like embellishments, but they really specialize in, feathers, which is cool. Also really important to the house of Chanel. They were acquired, I believe, in 2005 by Chanel. Another house is Massaro Paris. They are footwear makers. They've been making bespoke shoes for men and women since 1894. They were acquired by Chanel in, I believe, 1996. So they were one of the earlier acquisitions. Once again, they make a lot of the craft footwear for Chanel, the more expensive footwear, the couture stuff. But of course, like I said, all these houses don't just make Chanel pieces. That would be a waste. They do also make footwear for many other brands too. And also for their own houses. Like a lot of these brands make stuff for their own houses if they sell like in-house stuff. Also, moving on. So Goussons is really famous. Founded in 1950. So they are known for the jewelry. So if you guys know, Chanel has levels of like jewelry. So they have everything from like the costume jewelry, which is really, well, it's not cheap anymore, but it's like not that well made, to be honest, to like the really fine jewelry that's super, super expensive. Like Chanel has divisions of it that are super expensive. Obviously not couture, but Chanel makes watches that are actually really good. And like the watchmaking, the level of watchmaking of Chanel is actually really high. Also the jewelry, because they work with a lot of these like craft jewelry houses to make a lot of the really fine jewelry. So this is definitely one of them. And then another one I'll talk about, the last one I'll talk about is Maison Lemery, which is the pleating house. This is also a really famous one. Everyone taught, this is, for example, this is actually a Dior collection. This is a piece for Dior that they did with Kim Jones for Spring Summer 20. But like I said, it's not just like Chanel that they do stuff for. So sorry, not Lemery, but Longyon does the pleating. This is their website here. Just wanted to show you guys. 1853 by Emily Longyon, who had the idea of curling fabrics using her irons. They specialize in pleats, and the Longyon, as it says here, artisans started working in the Lemery workshops in 2013, thus becoming a Chanel Métiers d'Art. So as you guys can see, just some different pleating techniques that they've done over the years. But anyway, I can talk about this forever. They've acquired so many houses over the years. Like we could go on and on and on about it, and like all the different things that all these different craft houses do, and kind of the special things that they do. It's really, really cool to see that they're preserving craft. For example, Desrouge, which is the company that I said specializes in like butter making, they've been partners with Chanel since like 1965, I believe. So it's interesting that over time they ended up acquiring the house and they've kept that craft going. I think that's really, really, Really cool. So anyway, moving on to the actual runway show. Let me just see if I can get this on the screen. 1 second. Okay, so this season, the Chanel Métiers d'Art show was in a New York subway station, an abandoned New York subway station that a lot of people use in fashion for campaigns. People have used it over the years. So many people, whether we're talking about Tom Ford or we're talking about so many people, even Cortez, the streetwear brand, did it recently too. So this was really cool. Now, funny enough, I've seen a lot of people talking about like, why did they do a show in a New York subway? Like, rich people don't walk in the New York subway. And I actually beg to differ. I totally disagree with that. I think New York is like London in the sense that in London, every social class takes the train. There are millionaires that take the train. In fact, all the rich finance bros that work in the city, almost all of them take the train to go and work in Canary Wharf or wherever they work. Then, you know, working class people take the train to go to work. People take the train to go to school. People take the train to do everything. And I think that New York is a very similar vibe where people of all different social classes take the New York subway. And Matthieu Blazy actually mentioned this in the show notes. He said something to this effect. So to read what he said, to quote him directly, he said, "The New York subway belongs to all. Everyone uses it. There are students and game changers, statesmen and teenagers. It is a place full of enigmatic yet wonderful encounters, a clash of pop archetypes where everyone has somewhere to go and each is unique in what they wear. Like in the movies, they are heroes of their own stories." And that's kind of the starting point of this collection. So in this collection, what he's done is he's designed different characters and tropes of people that you would normally see and typically see when you go on the New York subway, because obviously New York, people in New York are really stylish. I think that New York is one of the most stylish cities in the whole world, to be honest. And the subway is one of those, like, you know, quote unquote, you know, real kind of authentic runaways where you see people, you know, wear really interesting fits. So in this collection, you have all these different characters, the statesmen, the ladies that brunch, you know, the business moguls, the the film person, the teenager, the old lady that dresses really chic, the woman that's really into art and she loves Art Deco and she kind of dresses in a very Art Deco way. So all these different characters are all across this collection, and I really liked it, and I think it was really fun. I think that, you know, even like you can see this I Love New York is kind of like a riff on the kind of tourism trinkets that you would see people wear when they visit New York for the first time as a tourist and they wear the I Love New York shirt. But also pairing that with a tweed suit. Love it. I absolutely love it. I think that Chanel is well and truly back. I haven't seen a collection that has been this interesting and had this good storytelling since Karl Lagerfeld, to be honest. I don't think that if you guys can call some of them, you know, I can't really think of too many memorable Vision-y VR collections, at least not to this effect. This is a collection that people definitely remember. Oh, do you remember that, you know, Chanel Métiers d'Art subway collection? I also love the juxtaposition between like a Métier collection where the pieces are so highly crafted by all these craft houses, and obviously the pieces are going to be insanely expensive, but also in a New York subway. I also think it's very Karl Lagerfeld to do a location runway for a Métier show or like a pre-for resort show, because that's what Karl Lagerfeld used to do a lot, to be honest. She did the show in Manchester. That was the resort show she did in Manchester. Yeah, that was, yeah. I want to forget about that Manchester show that she did. That was weird. And that was the same show that she took people to a Manchester United game the day before to immerse Chanel customers in Manchester culture. Really strange, really odd. Um, but also, this rift and this idea of going to a New York subway, outside of, the idea of having all these different characters on the New York subway, even there was like a Superman sweater, which is kind of like a trope to kind of this Hollywood idea of what people think of when it's New York. Those are also characters that were seen across the collection. But it's really important to note that Matthieu Blazy looks at the archives of Chanel and he's really looking at kind of what is authentic to the house. And most of you might not know, but in 1931, Coco Chanel first visited New York as a stopover on her way to Hollywood because she wanted to consult with Samuel Goldwyn, because that was around the time. And if you guys are on Patreon, I've actually talked about this before, but around the 30s and the 40s, a lot of couturiers started to realize that Hollywood was a massive opportunity for couturiers, and that Hollywood was so big and so glamorous, and that if they could dress a lot of these Hollywood actresses in movies and do costume design for the films, their brands would be big worldwide, in America, but also worldwide. And they would reach, new markets. So there was a time at first when people were trying to convince these couturiers to, dress these actresses and actors in Hollywood films, and they refused. They're like, that's not real fashion. And it's quite funny. Over time, you see a lot of these couturiers slowly kind of easing how strict and rigid they are about all these ideas of what haute couture is and where haute couture should be and who should be allowed to wear their brands. And, over time, they kind of were a bit more relaxed. And so that's when you started to see Coco Chanel, who was one of the earlier ones, start dressing, and doing costume design for Hollywood films. Of course, we have the likes of Givenchy. We know all about the famous films that Givenchy was dressing in. And we have these collaborative relationships between couturiers and actresses like Audrey Hepburn and stuff like that. So that is kind of where this idea to do a New York show comes from. Kind of the fact that she visited New York on her way as a stopover to go to Hollywood, and kind of there are all these pictures of Coco Chanel in New York and kind of what she was doing and hanging around New York and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of adopting kind of this idea of New York and kind of modernizing what kind of that vision of New York would be if it was 2025. So it makes all the sense in the world. So I don't understand why people are saying that it doesn't make sense for Chanel to do a New York runway from all angles. The angle about rich people don't take the subway is not true. The angle about it's not true to the brand is not true, because it's referencing Coco Chanel actually going to New York in 1931. So that's something I found really odd about the discourse online, to be very honest with you. I hate that Superman sweater. Yeah, I do think it's very goofy, but I think it makes sense in terms of the ideas of the collection. Here we can see some amazing craft. Let's see what people are saying. It seems that you believe Matthieu Blazy is doing a vastly better job with the archives of Chanel than Demna is with the archives of Gucci. Oh yeah, 100%. I just think that Matthew's storytelling, for now at least, is a lot better. The way he's delving into the archives and using that to do storytelling is also interesting. I think the issue with Demna is that Demna's clothes just look like Tom Ford with a slight twist, or like Alessandro Michele with Tom Ford sensibilities. So it's not as point of difference as what Matthieu Blazy is doing. So I think that's kind of why I'm enjoying the way he's referencing the Chanel archives versus Demna's Gucci archives. But I don't mind Demna's Gucci. I do like it. Maybe not I prefer his first collection to his last one, but I'm not opposed to Demna's Gucci. Yeah, I totally agree with this, by the way. The striped dresses are so Matthieu coded. Chavs and Chanel. You talking about the Manchester show? The finance bros from New Jersey take the train to Grand Central, I believe. They could drive, but NYC traffic. Yeah, this is also another reason, even in London too, why rich people don't really drive. It's because, well, first of all, like you can't really. There's nowhere to park in London. To be like, if you go really central, good luck finding parking. So that's one issue. Another issue is that the traffic is just so much, especially during rush hour in London, that you won't get to your meeting on time. If you want to get to your meeting on time, the best way is probably to take the underground train. So that's why people of all social classes end up just taking the train. It's very hard to understand if you didn't grow up in one of those cities like London or New York, because in many other parts of the world, taking public transport is associated with being working class. Even in the US, like I've been to the US enough times to know this, right? Like when I was in LA and I took the train, when you're there, you can sense that like the people that are there in the train, like the energy in the train is like, oh, I probably as a tourist should not be taking this train. So even in the US, in other parts of the US, like public transport definitely very much is a thing that, working class people and mainly only working class people use. But in New York specifically, that isn't really the case. In New York, there are a lot of people of all social classes that don't even own a car. Whereas in most other parts of the US, you can't survive without having a car. Because, like, how are you going to get around? Like, you won't be able to. So I think just depends where you're from. It just depends where you're from, where you've grown up. So I think a lot of the discourse is because maybe a lot of people aren't from a city like London or New York. So it's hard for them to like get to grips with that. Someone said, yeah, trains in LA are crazy compared to to NYC. Nobody takes the train in LA, mate. Yeah, that's why I was like, when I was in LA, it was like, should I be here? I feel like I'm gonna get shot. Like, I feel like I'm going to get mugged. Oh my god. People are asking, does LA have trains? How do people not know that LA has a metro system? Do people not know that LA has a metro system? Americans, teach your fellow Americans that you guys have a metro system. I mean, I've been on a train in LA, so obviously I know that there are trains. Blazy makes beautiful clothes, but design theory doesn't fit Chanel to me. This is a lifelong position. I don't think I can take 10 to 15 years of this. Yes, that is true because Matthieu Blazy I mean, Chanel said that they like to have creative directors for really long periods. So Matthieu Blazy is probably going to be there for a really long time. And I don't, what would you say doesn't fit Chanel? Because the tweed suits are there. There are maybe elements of it, like an I Love New York piece, or, like different pieces here and there. But at the end of the day, when you go into the store, you're just going to see a lot of tweed suits. And at the end of the day, when the couture customers the couture women that have been buying Chanel haute couture for 30 years in a row, there's all those kind of like diehard Chanel customers, like billionaire women and stuff like that, millionaire women, they are just going to go and be like, what color tweed suit can I get this season? So I don't think, I think what is presenting is very Matthieu Blazy coded, like stuff like this, for example, like this kind of feather kind of piece. That's very not Chanel and more Matthieu Blazy. But I think overall, when we look at kind of how people are going to wear it, I think what people will buy will be those things. No funny shit. Io is not exaggerating. Chat like the LA trains. If you miss one stop and you're heading to Long Beach, you're done. If you go on the bus, you're done. It's no escape. It's that crazy. Yeah, I was scared when I was on the LA train because I have my London mentality. So I'm like, if I don't need to drive or like take an Uber, if there's like good public transport, I'll just take the public transport because that's what I'm used to. So I was like, oh, LA has trains. This is the first time I went to LA. And then I hopped on the train and I was like, whoa, I might get robbed at gunpoint. But yeah, it was a really enjoyed the Chanel collection. I will say the collection is very hit and miss in terms of like even that skirt with the cityscape of. Let me see if I can pause on that. There's a skirt that has the cityscape of New York. That's kind of I like the technique, but it's kind of weird looking. But I do like the technique. This is the skirt with the cityscape. And some of the famous buildings of New York kind of made all into one skirt. Obviously, the craft is really nice, but yeah, there's pieces that are cool. There's like Superman sweaters that I think are really odd. But overall, I like it. I love the storytelling. I love the callback to Coco Chanel going to New York. Big fan of what Chanel does with the Métiers de art collections because I think it's really important that we saved craft in fashion. It's so important. What was that Christmas sweater randomly in the mix? I know it was a bit random. Yeah, very Art Deco. That's what I was saying about earlier when I said there are all these different characters in the collection, like the woman that loves art and Art Deco, and she dresses like it. It's very Art Deco. I love the soundtrack that paired with this collection. I hated the preview film that they did for it. Yeah. I like the collection, but it looks like Dev more content farming, and he's a content farmer too. No, Matthieu Blazy is a content farmer. Don't get it twisted. He definitely is a clip farmer. Like he farms clips. I think the as almost torn edges give it an awkward shape. The styling is just off. Yeah, some of the styling is off with some of these pieces. Totally agreed. Still like the collection, but I do agree with that. And the kitsch elements have character. But that's the thing, though. Chanel is kind of kitschy. Now, let me take that back. Let me take that back slightly. Coco Chanel, like original Chanel, isn't kitschy. Karl Lagerfeld Chanel is kitschy. Because when you think of original Coco Chanel, it's classic. Like, what is Coco Chanel famous for? It's, taking kind of creating ease in a woman's wear. It's taking menswear codes like sailor uniforms, military uniforms, tailoring for menswear and kind of making that more feminine. Taking fabrics from menswear like jerseys and tweeds and that sort of stuff that like tweeds are more back then were associated with like hunting jackets or like sports jackets that, men would wear. So taking all those kind of things and then creating women's wear that's comfortable for women by women, creates ease. There's easy movement. Also creating a versatility in a woman's wardrobe. So like one thing that Chanel used to emphasize, because a lot of people historically say that Coco Chanel is as much a couturier as she is a stylist, because a lot of her customers would literally look to how she dressed as how to wear the clothing. So how she wore the clothing was really important in how the customers were going to wear it and how they were going to buy it. So that's kind of like this sort of Coco Chanel had this sort of day to night idea where you can wear full Chanel tweed suit and then you can wear kind of ballet flats during the day and then wear pumps at night. So it's kind of like having that versatility. Of course, she used to wear a lot of pearls, so all this kind of thing. So there were all these elements to it, but I don't think it was very kitsch back then. It was very classic. These like LBDs that she was making, like it was quite classic, to be honest. Though when Karl Lagerfeld came in, what Karl Lagerfeld did is he came in and he turned it on its head. So he actually, in a sense, did everything that Coco Chanel would not do. So if Coco Chanel would make this jacket in black, he would make it in some crazy blue. If Coco Chanel would make this bag in leather, he would use a towel fabric or something like that, which he actually did. He actually did that, like make bags out of towels. Um, so he is the one I think that kitchified Chanel in a cool way, in a fun way that people loved. People liked that he modernized Chanel in that way. So I think this sort of like kitsch idea of what we think of Chanel, I think that's definitely very more Karl Lagerfeld. And I think that Matthieu Blazy can do that. Because Matthieu Blazy, I think he plays a lot with colors and textures and fabrics. We saw this at Bottega Veneta, and I think this is something we're going to continually see at Chanel. I definitely expect it from him, to be honest. She could also make clothes herself, unlike that Italian lady. Don't make me laugh. Not the Schiaparelli and Coco Chanel beef. Not the Schiaparelli versus Coco Chanel couturier war of the 20th century. Blazy Chanel is less reliant on the logo, which is nice, particularly in the jewelry or getting designs that don't revolve around a double C logo. Agreed. Those Terry 90s pieces were so good. We also need future vintage from Blazy. I don't see any pieces that people will want 20 years from now, except maybe that gold distressed bag from the last collection. I think kind of like one of the let me show you, because there's so many references to Coco Chanel herself, like for example, like the dogs in the collection. This look is actually a look that's more associated with Coco Chanel herself. This look here is more classic. I think this look is definitely timeless. I definitely think this look is timeless. Like you can wear this in like 20 years from now. I think there are a few looks here and there that like you can wear 20 years from now. Not loads, but there are a few. Right now, the only exciting thing is waiting for Stefano Pilati to accept our money. Aren't you tired of the fashion musical chairs? Are we not tired of that yet? The collection is beautiful, however, it feels like a mixture of what he's done at Bottega and what he's trying to bring at Chanel. This is a perfect statement, and I totally agree. Completely 100% agree. However, what I will say is, what do you want him to do? Because we loved him for his Bottega, so we kind of do want some elements of his Bottega in the Chanel. Obviously, it's really obvious in this collection, but like that's not, I wouldn't say a bad thing necessarily. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily like a bad thing. But yeah, if you guys want to learn more about this collection, here are the show notes. They talk about like all the inspirations. They talk about all the different characters in the show notes. They talk about, you know, some of the inspirations for some of the looks. Oh, they even mention, actually, I forgot, like Art Deco as one of the inspiration points. They talk about the savoir-faire and the maisons. They're talking about the fact that it's an amalgamation of elevated craft and pop culture, elegantly witty high style, all these different techniques like lingerie denim, which is, you know, complex embroideries used to make this kind of like denim effect piece. They talk about the flannels, everything here. And no point me reading it because you guys can just, you know, read it for yourselves. I'll post it in the chat so you guys can have a read for yourselves. But yeah, really cool ideas. I definitely loved this Chanel collection, this Métiers d'Art collection from Matthieu Blazy. I think that he's bringing intrigue back to Chanel for sure. And hopefully this continues and the interest at Chanel stays. Someone said it's a yap fest. Yeah, I only read out the show notes if they are short, because otherwise it's like boring. I feel like when I'm streaming, it's not interesting, as you guys can tell me as viewers. I feel like it would be boring if I was just sat here like reading the the show notes, even though it would be important, I guess, for me to talk about the ideas, but I always read the show notes beforehand, so I already know what the ideas are anyway before I come onto the stream. But I guess just for the understanding of people, because I might just be talking about things here and there, but people don't actually understand that some of these things I know because they've specifically been mentioned in the show notes, like specific techniques that they've talked about. But yeah, this ain't a book club. Yeah, that's what I do in the fashion book club, which is what it's for. But I think in a stream, it's just not entertaining. I feel like on Patreon, it's fine because people go into it knowing that it's a fashion book club. But yeah. We only need the show notes reading when we get a truly baffling collection. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Or if the designer is just waffling. Yeah. I do actually read them when I think the show notes make no sense. When I read show notes and I'm like, this is so stupid, I do tend to read them because it's just like, normally when show notes are really silly, that's normally when a collection is going to be really bad, because it shows there's a mismatch in like the ideas. There's no, like, what's even the right word? There's no like congruence between the different elements in the collection, and that's why you can see that the show notes are all over the place. These things normally align. This ain't your grandma's channel. Demna's debut collection show notes are gonna feed the streets. Yeah. Okay, from the first line, I do really agree that he did not go far enough with the actual models themselves to make them feel like characters. Like the clothes would work with more elaborate hair. Agreed. And the characters could also come with, it's kind of, this is what we love about John Galliano, right? Because if it was a John Galliano collection and they had all these different characters, they would come with certain sensibilities and the way they walk. I mean, considering that they're walking in and out of the runway, they could have done more set design to showcase the different characters. So if someone is like the newspaper reader that drinks coffee in the morning, maybe there's like a newspaper stand, and then there's like someone just like giving out newspapers, and then that person is like chasing the stand to try and catch the newspaper before the train leaves. Like there's so many like interesting things that they could have done in that sense. But that's why, you know, hopefully designers see these streams and stuff and see that there's many more elements that they can go to when it comes to these collections. Claire White Keller does not get enough respect as she should. Her collection, she did Givenchy, especially the couture, was beautiful. She needs to take over a new house besides Uniqlo. Yeah, I mean, we used to cover Claire White Keller. We said that her Givenchy was amazing. I never thought that anything that Claire White Keller designed was bad. I just think that it wasn't selling for whatever reason. People didn't gravitate towards it, which is why she basically had to leave. Because they needed a designer that would bring in more intrigue and, you know, sell more. But in terms of the merit of the clothing itself, I don't think I've ever thought Claire White Keller was a bad designer. I think she's an amazing designer, and I think at Givenchy, most of what she did was really good. Yeah, like the lady with exotic pets, or the person who had to rush because they slept in too long. Yeah, exactly. It would have been really fun, but that's why every design is different. That's what we would have gotten if it was John Galliano, because I think that John Galliano thinks in like terms of theatre and like these sort of things. So he thinks many layers past just the surface. And also, I totally agree. It is very hard to follow Carl's sets. Carl's sets were so elaborate. Like, I really want to know what the budgets for some of Karl Lagerfeld's sets were, because some of them were insane. He would turn a place into a whole beach with the water and everything. Like, he would do crazy stuff. His sets did not make sense. Like, the amount of money they would spend on those was outrageous. But that's all part of world building. The reason why Chanel is one of the most valuable companies in fashion right now is because of how good Karl Lagerfeld was at world building and how much he built desire. Like, everyone wanted to go to those shows because it was like just such a big like spectacle to see those elaborate sets. So yeah, he would ship in ice from another cut. Like he was doing crazy stuff. Like he was doing insane stuff. Someone definitely could have walked this runway with wet hair. We all have that co-worker, oh, the co-worker that washed their hair and didn't dry it because they were in a rush. So they left their house with wet hair, and yeah, now they're on the subway with wet hair. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I know this person all too well. All too well. Carl did an amazing job for Chanel in the last 30 years, but also at Fendi. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. R.I.P. Karl Lagerfeld. Thank you very much, Ethan Chen, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the Chanel show. There's not really much more to say, to be honest. We've kind of gone through like every single element of it. Let me see if there's any more interesting facts that they've put on their Instagram page, just in case I'm missing anything. Let's have a look. Okay, this is in conversation with the artisans of the maison. I might have to watch this later. Let me see. We can watch this. I just want to see what the background music is. Okay, yeah, we can't watch it. The background music is copyrighted. But you guys can watch it in the background. Enjoy the subtitles. I do feel like they should have included at least one crackhead in the show. And if they couldn't do that, at least give us a crackhead look. The problem is, so I would understand if there was like a crackhead in the show, although it kind of would be in bad taste because ultimately we can't forget the context. It's still a Chanel show. And when you're a luxury brand that sells, haute couture pieces for 100K plus, and you're putting, métier looks on someone that's supposed to look homeless, people will have an issue with it. People will think like it's making a mockery of working class people. This has been a critique for designers, historically. It's the same thing as John Galliano. This happened with John Galliano in his show, right? Everyone was like, oh my God, how can you reference homeless people in the context of a luxury brand and put that on the runway? So it's just, I don't know. A lot of people would have issues with it. I can understand it from a storytelling standpoint and really wanting to tell the story authentically, but I think in the context of a Métier d'Art show, it just, I don't know. And I only think that the only reason why John Galliano even got away with that all the way back then was because I think society was a bit more tolerant to things like that, like you being allowed to put crazy things like that into your storytelling, right? Where yeah, even Marc Jacobs at Perry Ellis, right? And he was doing grunge and stuff. But anyway, I feel like just the social political climate now, I just don't think it allows you to do that. I don't even think that, oh, Luke is saying that was John's best collection for Dior. I don't think that John Galliano could do that collection now and it be received well. Even back then it wasn't received well, but now I think it would be like, it would be received so much worse, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know. But there's many other characters they could tap into other than just like crackheads. Yeah, exactly this. Why should poverty become chic only when rich people find it amusing? Yeah, it's like wealth mockery, exactly. So I could understand why people would have an issue with that, to be honest. Matthew was able to get away with bringing in a huge variety of different styles of Bottega because it wasn't a big house like Chanel, but now he needs to be a bit more streamlined. Yeah, I mean, to be honest though, he's only done two collections. He's going to find, and like we've been mentioning, he's there for the long haul. So he's going to find his footing eventually and find kind of his own idea of what his Chanel would be. And I think he'll find that balance eventually. It will take some time, but he will get there eventually, to be honest. At least I believe so. Whole new meaning to street theatre. Could have had someone busking. That's a good idea. That would have been cool. But see, once again, it's like we are adding layers to the storytelling, but it's because we've seen collections like this from designers before, like John Galliano, who, like, when they think about storytelling, they think of all the layers of it. It would have been even more interesting. I think if they had done storytelling to that level, it might have been received the way that John Galliano's viral collection was received, in the sense of like everyone just like talking about it and it being like one of those ones. But Matthieu Blazy has way more time to do that in future collections. At the very least, some rats dragging a pizza out of the garbage can. Those massive ass rats. New York is a scary place. Like, New York rats are the size of like baby cats. That place is a crazy place. um, but anyway, those are my thoughts on Chanel, the Chanel show. Those are my thoughts on the Chanel show. If you have any other thoughts, let me know. Let your thoughts be known in the comments. Now, the last topic I wanted to talk about is Versace, and kind of just really touching on kind of what's going on with Versace. What is the future of Versace going to be, especially because the latest news is, of course, that Dario Vitale has exited Versace. Now, when this news came out, there was a lot of speculation around why did he leave Versace? Like, did he leave? Because there was some, like, I thought initially, because I knew for a long time that Prada Group was trying to acquire Versace, and because Dario Vitale was at Miu Miu, I actually thought that they actually put him at Versace as kind of like a boss move because they knew they were going to buy it and they would have like one of their trusty design directors already at Versace. Turns out that was not actually the case. Turns out that he actually left Prada Group to go to Versace. And the thing about these deals is that even though this deal has been in the works, I literally have a video on my channel 9 months ago talking about Prada Group acquiring Versace. But I can imagine that his job at Versace, maybe they were in talks way before Prada Group became public, talking about the fact they wanted to acquire Versace. So he was kind of unlucky in that way. So he left Prada Group, went to Versace. Prada Group bought Versace and were like, yeah, no, you betrayed us. Get out of here. That's literally what happened. Like, no joke. Like, they even say it in this BOF article. Let me see if I can show you guys, because they literally say, yeah, okay, let me read from here. Unfortunately for Vitale, the old axiom, you never know what is going to come back to bite you, held especially true for him. After informing Prada Group earlier this year that he was leaving Miu Miu to take the creative director role at Versace, he was told in no uncertain terms that they did not believe he was ready for such a role, and if Prada ended up acquiring Versace, he would not stay in the job, according to multiple sources close to the company. Vitale took the plunge in any case, so he knew this was coming. Maybe it will still pay off for him in the end. His buzzy debut, a compelling audition for the new role, no doubt. So, literally, they told him, they warned him when he was leaving that if you leave, we do not think that you're ready for the job at Versace. And if we acquire Versace, we are going to fire you. Like, they told him. So he kind of took a risk, and I guess was probably hoping that it would fall through the same way the Tapestry deal fell through for Versace. But clearly that did not happen. And, you know, Dario Vitale is out. Someone said it seems like there's a ton of upheaval right now, and instability as luxury is doing as bad as it is. Yeah, like a lot of stuff. Dr. G says no way. Yeah, it's insane. It's actually insane that is actually what happened. It's so insane, like pure scandal. But anyway, it's also interesting to examine kind of where Versace is right now. I mean, they've been doing really terribly financially, which is why they've been looking for a buyer. The tapestry deal fell through, which was rejected by the US Trade Commission. We've covered that in the past. Of course, Prada Group swooped in and acquired Versace for 1.25 billion euros. But they've been struggling. They've had quarterly losses since Q3 in 2024, and their annual revenue is down by 15%. There was a quote via the Versace CEO called Emmanuel Gintzberger. This is the quote right here that I've highlighted, that I think is really interesting to read because it shows their goals. And the fact that he's still the CEO, even though he's been there since Capri Holdings, and now that Prada Group owns Versace, they haven't fired him and replaced him with a different CEO. So it means that they're going with his strategy, because the CEO is the person that, runs the strategy. So his strategy is that, and he said this at a Capri Holdings Investor Day in February of this year, that the label's 4 key focus areas are drilling down on house codes, growing accessories to $600 million, growing footwear to $250 million, and building out the men's market share. So when we talk about fashion designers that are good fits, because everyone keeps talking about, who's going to take over at Versace, who would be a good fit, you need to remember they need to be good at these things highlighted. So they need to be able to drill down on the Versace house codes. They need to be able to grow the accessories to 600 million, which means they have to have a good track record. I said track record, can't speak. They have to have a good track record of actually creating desirable accessories that sell. They have to be able to grow the footwear to $250 million, meaning they have to have a track record of making really desirable footwear. And then they also, need to be able to do other things like be good at categories like fine jewelry, watches, homeware, and they need to be good at menswear design because they're building out their menswear. So now let's talk about a lot of designers that we've been talking about when it comes to Versace. I've seen Pieter Mulier from Alaya. People are talking about that. I've not seen menswear really, like desirable menswear, like menswear selling from Pieter Mulier. So that kind of pushes him out. Pieter Mulier does do good footwear though, and Pieter Mulier can design really desirable accessories, but mainly footwear. Then you have the likes of like Anthony Vaccarello, I've heard people mentioning, I think is a better fit than Pieter Mulier, to be honest, in terms of like those categories of like menswear, footwear, accessories, jewelry, homeware. I think a great fit would be Eddie Slimane. Would Eddie Slimane go there and make Versace kind of look like Eddie Slimane 2.0 or 3.0 or 4.0? 4.0 in this case, because, YSL, Dior, Celine, then Versace. But they could use him though. Obviously, Eddie Slimane, he would not work at an Italian brand. He only works at French brands. So they'll have to throw an empty checkbook at him and be like, name your price. But he is the person that builds brands. Like if you're ever in doubt, if your brand is ever struggling, I mean, look at Celine. He brought Celine from a brand that was making like 800 million a year to 2.1 billion a year. That's insane. Like Eddie Slimane really is the guy when it comes to like making brands money. So can he build furniture? Yes. He built out the furniture and beauty line at Celine. Can he make accessories and menswear desirable? Of course. Can he make footwear that's desirable and sells? Of course. So that's a big option. Another option I've seen people say is the likes of Donatella Versace. People are saying that Donatella Versace might make a return. I don't see that. Why would she leave just to come back so quickly? I just think that would be a bit weird. I don't know. It would be a bit strange. Someone is also saying, I picture Olivier Rousteing in Versace. I can actually see that because I think his sensibilities are kind of in line with Versace, like the whole like maximalist thing. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Eddie should have gone to Balmain. Well, because it's French. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Anthony needs to stay at YSL because he's made it what it is today. Without him, it's not going to thrive on its own, even if they find a new name. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what I want from Versace in 2025 as a consumer. Yeah, let me pose this question to you guys in the chat. As like the brand Versace, like what do you guys actually like want from the brand? Like when you think of Versace from a customer's perspective, like what would you be like, oh, if Versace made this would be like great. I think this would sell. Olivier needs to loosen them braids and take a break because she tired. I'm dead. Not the tired braids. That's crazy. Cologne is that is actually probably what's making Versace most of the money, to be fair. Like the perfumes, the fragrances. Silk shirts. Yeah. Versace has zero Gen Z presence. Facts. I think maybe they need to, that's what they need to do, like strategy wise, you know, get younger people into the clothes, work with younger creators, style things in like a way that young people want to wear it, all that kind of stuff. And that's the thing. I thought that like, love it or hate it, because I know a lot of people watching this probably hated the collection, but I think that the Dario Vitale Versace debut, yes, a lot of people didn't like it, but it was actually quite fun. And there were lots of ideas where it's like, okay, I could see younger people having fun if they want to dress in a really retro way and kind of look super retro, then I can see like this, you know, taking off. Fuck it, put Migos on the runway. They need to bring back the old makeup line. Versace needs to get back to making couture level gowns, dominating the red carpet and leaning into denim and tailoring. Fair enough. I mean, when I think of Versace historically, like when I think of Versace codes, I think of like Gianni Versace. Gianni Versace to me is like a really exceptional dressmaker. When I think of Versace, there's like two sides of Versace. There's like the silk shirt wearing, like, I don't know, like Miami bro that has a lot of money but just wants to buy something expensive Versace customer. Then there's the other customer, which is what I love about Versace historically. If we're talking like early Donatella Versace, old Gianni Versace, the dressmaking was exquisite. One thing I think people overlook with Versace is how good of a dressmaker he was. Like if you guys can get your hands on the Versace catwalk book, I know quite a lot about Versace, the history of Versace, because I worked on the press run for the book when it came out. For people that don't know, it was written by Tim Blanks. I worked with Thames and Hudson, who was the publisher of the book, on the press run, and I had to interview him about the book, so I had to like know about everything that was in the book and all that sort of stuff. So if you look at the archives of Versace, the dressmaking is exquisite. And it's kind of weird that nowadays, when people think of Versace, all they think about is silk shirts. I think that's an indictment on the brand itself, that they haven't been able to keep that as a house code, like the really, really good dressmaking. So yeah, I would love to see that come back. Hate to say this, but Versace is so tied with the 80s extravagance that today the designs look tired and so unreliable or unrelatable, I guess, with today's generation. Yeah, I can understand that, but then all you need to do is just like modernize it. So there's a way to like take those old Versace tropes and ideas, but just modernize it. I think the problem with it is no one has really been able to, like Donatella Versace, love her, but she's not, I don't think she pushed Versace forward. She just kind of kept Versace where it was for a really long time. So what they need now is a designer that can come in, take all those codes and really modernize it. They haven't had someone that, I feel like Donatella Versace is still kind of in the 90s and 2000s. And so they need someone to really like bring it into the modern time. They just haven't had someone to do it yet. I thought Dario Vitale would be the person to do it. Was his debut collection a bit too retro? Yes. Did I kind of like it though? Yes. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I kind of liked it, but you just need someone to come in and modernize it. That's all Versace needs, to be honest. I think the Donatella 2000s era is a perfect reference to help mixed with 80s nostalgia. Fair enough. Dario's Versace collection had 25k dresses. Really try to up the prices. It doesn't line up with targeting younger. You can target younger without, and also charge 25k for a dress. For example, young people love Chanel, and Chanel sells skirts for 50k. So what they do is just buy the bags. So with Versace, you create desire by making everything unattainable, and then it makes people desire the bags even more, and like the little accessories even more, the belts going sideways and the shoes and stuff. That's how you sell the ready to wear pieces for high margins. Philip Plein for Versace, kill me now. He really could have tapped into the whole Miami Vice era that hasn't been done well yet. It's very close to the oversized minimalism that people currently love. Yeah, yeah. To be fair though, I think there's already a brand that taps into that whole Miami Vice era you're talking about. I think the brand that does that is Casablanca. I feel like Casablanca sits really well in that space because Casablanca looks retro but modern at the same time. I don't know how to describe it. Casablanca does look like, I feel like when you, people that wear Casablanca, they kind of look like they went to a Formula One Grand Prix in Monaco in the 90s, but it still kind of looks modern. I don't know how, but that's kind of the energy that Versace could lean into, but in a Versace way, of course, and like with better and more interesting dressmaking, because that's also, to me, a house code of Versace, like the dressmaking. And then obviously using house code of Versace, like the fabric, silk is really important to the house. Silk is a very, very important fabric to the house of Versace. So these are all ideas that I think, you know, could be done. Casablanca's too flashy feels like a front business. It's always on sale. A front business is insane. A front for what? Being Mr. Witty. What is it a front for? Is he trying to say that over in Casablanca they're running a drug syndicate and they're washing their money through Casablanca? That's crazy. So yeah, in the chat, who do you guys think would be the best fit for Versace? I've seen Luke saying that I should come back to him when Pieter Mulier gets announced as the creative director of Versace. We shall see. We shall see. I think so. My thing with Pieter Mulier, love his work. Huge fan of his work. I don't think I've had anything bad to really say about his work. I've been a fan of a lot of his stuff. I've reviewed a lot of his live shows. They're amazing. I just think that when you look at Pieter Mulier's experience, Pieter Mulier was at Deal Sander with Raf Simons, I believe. He was, I believe, at Calvin Klein with Raf Simons too, no? He was at Calvin Klein with Raf Simons. I even think he was at Dior with Raf Simons. And then, obviously, he's been at Alaya. He's just very... His experience is very classical. The way he knows how to design is very classical. And it works at Alaya. And that's why I like his Alaya. It works at certain brands. But I think Versace is not the classic brand. Versace is like old school glamour. Versace is like Formula One Grand Prix with the cigar in the hand. Versace is like crazy red carpet moments. The like really glamorous dress. Like the woman that's like really chic but also kind of wants to look like an old movie star. Like that's... I haven't seen Pieter Mulier hop into that bag ever. So it makes me think, does he have that in his bag? I don't know. So that's why for me, Pieter Mulier is just like him as a designer, but at Versace, I'm just not too sure based on what I've seen from him in the past and the places he's worked at in the past. Okay, someone is saying Riccardo Tisci. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Jonathan, now we're just throwing everything to the wind and seeing what sticks. JW Anderson is not going from Dior, one of the biggest brands in fashion, to Versace, a struggling brand. What, he's not doing enough? Oh, so you mean Versace on top of whatever he's doing? Like, JW Anderson looks stressed out. Like, every time I see him, he looks stressed out. I actually feel for him. I actually feel sorry for him. It's like, oh my God, he looks so stressed. Haider could be interesting, but he doesn't give us bags. Yeah, that's the big issue. And like all the other categories they want to go into, like jewelry and furniture, he doesn't have a track record of really selling stuff like that. Peter was at Dior, Russ Simmons doing menswear and Calvin Klein. He never did Jill Sander. Also, wait, but I thought Peter Mulier was at Jill Sander. Check. I feel like he followed Russ Simmons to Jill Sander. I feel like he followed Russ Simmons to Jill Sander because he was like he was Russ Simmons' right hand. Check it. He followed Russ Simmons to Jill Sander, then he followed Russ Simmons to Dior, and then he followed Russ Simmons to Calvin Klein, and then he went to Alaya. Check it. Fact check me, guys. I feel like he was at Jill Sander with Russ Simmons, but fact check me. If I'm wrong, then let me know. There's really only one option, and he's not going there. Dolce Jeans. Who is the one option? Who is the one Versace option? I'm curious to see what he says. Let me Google it. Did Peter Mulier work at Jill Sander? 1 second. I feel like he did. Yeah. See, I know what I'm saying. Peter Mulier definitely worked at Jill Sander, following Russ Simmons serving as the director of accessories for both men's and women's collections from around 2006 until Simmons' departure to Dior in 2012. Yeah, because he followed Russ Simmons to Dior. Yeah. Come on, guys. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, even in Vogue, they said it too. Yeah, they said he worked at Jill Sander with Russ Simmons. Yeah, Mulier's Russ Simmons' right hand. Guys, I know what I'm talking about. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. I mean, I know something about fashion. Come on, I know a few things about fashion. Right, let's go back to this Versace show. Yeah. So he was Russ Simmons number 2, but that's not the point I'm making. The point I was making is that he worked at Jill Sander with Russ Simmons, he worked at Dior with Russ Simmons, he worked at Calvin Klein with Russ Simmons. So the point I'm making is that what he has shown, like what he's designed or what he's been around, the designs he's been a part of, don't give off Versace. So him at Versace, I just don't know if he has that in his bag. That's what I was saying. When I said he was Russ Simmons' right hand, I didn't mean at all times, but from like Dior times, definitely at Calvin Klein, he was definitely Russ Simmons' right hand. So that's what I mean. At some point, he became Russ Simmons' right hand. Not necessarily at Jill Sander, but my point is that's how he became Russ Simmons' right hand, because he was with him for so long. He basically followed him everywhere. So like followed him to Jill Sander, followed him to Dior, followed him to Calvin Klein, and then went off on his own. Let me see. Did Dolce Jeans say who is the person? Okay, Eddie Slimane. Eddie Slimane's the only right choice for Versace. It's sad. Remember they brought in Christopher Kane and he did some great work for Versace, then his own brand suffered up. Oh my God, it's so sad what happened to Christopher Kane. It's really, really sad what happened to Christopher Kane and how the brand just kind of, just started struggling financially. It's like a big shame, to be honest. It's a big shame. How on earth is Eddie Simon the right choice? It's that to you guys are sending. I literally highlighted all the reasons why he's the right choice. You're gonna have to watch it back, Luke. You're gonna have to watch it back. You're gonna have to watch it back. You're gonna have to watch it back. But yeah, anyway, those are my kind of thoughts on the whole Versace thing and kind of just clearing the air on why exactly it was that Dario Vitale left Versace so that guys can stop speculating and making up stories. The information is there, readily available. Maybe Versace needs a shock treatment. Interesting. Yeah, this is what we were saying. Never said he's the right one, but by the goals they've set, he's the only person that can achieve them. Facts. I feel like every other designer just won't really get there, especially those big numbers that they've set out. I just don't see any other designer that gets there. The only problem with Eddie Simon is going to want royalties on his photography. He's going to want royalties on the beauty line. Once, like, he's going to find a way to like create some next, even though like Versace already has a beauty line that's licensed out and everything. He's going to find a way to make a sub line that's only Eddie Simon, and he's going to get royalty. Like, it's just going to be a mess. He's going to get paid the most ever out of all creative directors, even though Versace doesn't make as much revenue as like Hermes or Chanel. He's still going to want to get paid more than all those creative directors. Oh my God. Luke says it will be Pieter and he'll flop hard. Oh my gosh, why so pessimistic? Pieter Emilio was basically the one who ran things and conveyed Ras aesthetic to the different brands that at Calvin Klein when I was there. Raf was rarely in the office. Damn! Expose. Basically, so when you were at Calvin Klein, Pieter Emilio was basically doing all the work and Raf Simons was MIA. That's crazy. That's crazy. Shout out to Pieter Emilio, working hard. Shout out to him. I'm a big fan of his work. I love his Alaya. I talk about his Alaya all the time anyway. Really enjoy what he does. But that's a crazy story, by the way. That Raf was really in the office. What was Raf doing? Was Raf like going on work trips, getting inspiration, like the John Galliano type of work trips, like traveling the world? Like, I just want to be inspired. Like, what was he doing? I'm so curious. With Eddie at Versace, the stores will look like Celine and Saint Laurent. They'll make Chanel, Hermes, and Dior look-alike bags with the V, black and white campaigns, skinny white boys and girls. Versace and Helvetica, we know the process, of course. But it's just down to like, do they want to make money or do they not? Because the thing about Eddie Simon too, Eddie Simon can create like a good springboard for the next creative director because he would have built out the business side of the brand. Look at Celine, for example. I think Michael Ryder has taken over seamlessly. I think he's been great at Celine so far. And because the business is set up, the beauty is making money, the furniture is making money now. They have the custom design program where they make, those like custom bags for VIPs where they sell like bags for like $1 million and all that crazy stuff. Like all that stuff came when Eddie Simon was there. So I think Versace could benefit from a blockbuster designer that will like sort out the business from top to bottom, and then they can get rid of that designer or just like maybe make them sign a 2 to 3 year contract. And then when that contract is over, then they can get a newer designer that they can control. So yeah, it just depends. It just depends. It just depends. So what does someone say? Raf was not the general creative director. Okay, you're talking about Calvin Klein. Peter and Matthieu were the design directors. Yeah, but Raf was still above them. Like I feel like Raf was like, there's like chief creative officer, like one of those roles, like CCO. I feel like that was one of his roles. So it's still, the buck still stops with him. So just because he's not design director doesn't mean that like he can just like not do anything. Like he's still like chief creative officer. It's still his job to like whatever's on the runway is still him. And in fact, you can't say that those ideas weren't coming from Raf. Like the ideas were coming from Raf, maybe not the execution, because I mean, all of Rassiman's favorite graphic designers and artists, he spammed them at Calvin Klein. He literally spammed them his whole time at Calvin Klein. So yeah, I love how this became like a Rassiman's Calvin Klein conversation. But anyway, I think it's because we were talking about Peter Media. But anyway, after hours, guys, I have something interesting for after hours. Now that we're done with the stream, if you guys have any questions you want to ask me, now is the time. We're officially in after hours. I wanted to do something fun. So Margiela sent me something, and I haven't actually opened it because I wanted to unbox it on the stream because I knew I was streaming today. So they sent me this, like, I'll show you. It's like massive ass box. See if you can see it. This huge ass box. I think it's an advent calendar because of like the time of year. And then it's got this letter with my name on it. Interesting handwriting. And then just a little message from the Margiela team. So let's open the box. Let's see what's in the box. Let's see what's in the box. What's in the box? Okay. Maybe I should go back a bit. Let me make sure I'm still close enough to the mic. Okay. Oh, I can see some of the Margiela number system under. So let's see what this is. Okay. We don't want to rip anything. Open this carefully. Let me bring this camera down a bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing. There you go. Okay. So oh, that definitely ripped. That was not smooth at all. Oh well, it's just paper. I just don't want to rip what's under. Not everyone in the chat telling me to hurry up. That's hilarious. Okay. Okay, so they have, well, this is basically explaining what the number system is, which is the typical like Margiela thing. And then there's a message. Let's see. I'll read what the message says. It says, for the holiday season, Maison Margiela invites you to follow the 12 days of Margiela with the embroidered cotton calendar. Inspired by an archival object of the Maison, the 12 days of Margiela unfolds as a reinterpretation of the calendar and as a play on a classic holiday countdown. Each number connected to a corresponding line becomes an opportunity for celebration, translating the physical object into a reflection on the numeric coding system. Oh, so it's kind of like it's just a calendar. That's cool. It's like a calendar canvas thingy. This is such a like, this is the kind of thing that I can hang on my bedroom wall. Just hang it. Be like, oh my God, you're such a hype beast. You have a Margiela calendar on your wall? Such a hype beast, bro. That's actually really cool, though. That's so cool. I've got my little Margiela calendar. Dr. Jean says, give it to me now. That's funny. Tell Martins next time you see him, you can do better. That's crazy. That's insane. Not Brooklyn saying always knew Roadman and Glenn are buddies. I mean, I do know Glenn. I've spoken to Glenn multiple times. I mean, I interviewed Glenn for the H&M collection. Like, I've met him multiple times. I don't know if we're buddies. I wouldn't call us buddies. I think that's a bit of a stretch. Bit of a stretch. Um, any more questions for me? We're in after hours. Anything that, let me put this camera back up. Anything that people want to discuss? By the way, CSM told me that I'm eligible for the Capri Holding Scholarship and that I should apply. 5 design students get it, and if I'm successful, I basically get a full 100k scholarship. Ooh, fair enough. Yeah, I don't have any scholarship hacks because I study fashion journalism at CSM. So we are not as important as the designers. We don't get any scholarships. We don't get fuck all. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to the Antwerp 6 exhibition. Not only am I going to the Antwerp 6 exhibition, I'm going on the opening day. Like, I have to be there. Because the plan was for... So I'll give you some background on that exhibition, actually. So the plan was for the Antwerp 6 to actually have a reunion at the opening of the exhibition. Unfortunately, RIP to Marina Yee, so that's no longer going to happen, but I think the other 5 will be there. And there's murmurings of Martin even going as well. But yeah, it should be fun. I'm actually featured in the exhibition. This is like exclusives, but should I even tell you this? I'll tell you, how many people are here? 145. Okay, cool. So I'm actually featured in the exhibition. They interviewed me about like Andre Meister and like why I like Andre Meister and all that sort of stuff. So they interviewed me about it, and my understanding is that there's going to be a video of me in the exhibition talking about Andre Meister, like those typical ones where you put your headphones on and like all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's another reason why I need to be there at the opening, because that should be cool. That should be cool. So yeah, that's going to be fun. And I told them they need to make a book for the exhibition. We need that Antwerp 6 book because... So, oh my God. So crazy story. Oh my God. I'm giving you guys the exclusives. So the person that interviewed me for the Andre Meister thing, like for this exhibition, this Antwerp 6 exhibition, he is the person that is the reason why the Antwerp 6 went to London. So he was the person who was on like touring Europe with the Antwerp 6. Like he was the one that advised them to go to London. Like it was him. So he's like really good friends with them, of course. He's a big reason why the Antwerp 6 even exists. And he's like a creative. He's like well known and all this sort of stuff. And like it was crazy talking to him because obviously he knows the Antwerp, like he was there in the bus with them, like he's the reason why they went. So he had deep lore. Like, I was asking him some crazy questions about collections, and like he had some deep lore about like the Antwerp 6 and like Margiela and all that sort of stuff. So that was crazy talking to him. Like after I did the interview, that was really, really fun. And also, I won't tell you this because now that would be spoiling it, but there's so many other people that they interviewed for the exhibition, like really high profile people in fashion. So that should be really interesting if any of you do make it to the exhibition. Like there's some really good interviews that were done. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it there. You better dress head to toe in Water Van Berendonk. If you go, I'll be just... I don't really own that much Water Van Berendonk. Maybe like 2 or 3 pieces. It's easier for me to go in head to toe Andre Meister. I own Andre Meister shoes, boots, sneakers, trousers, sweaters, coats. Yeah, I own a lot of Andy pieces. Sunglasses, like, yeah. It's a lot easier for me to go in head to toe Andy than anything else. Do you see fashion continuing to be more centered around the fashion capitals, namely Paris, or do you think there's potential for other cities to one day occupy a significant part of this? I think that's already happening, no? I think Paris is very hard to beat, but I think other fashion capitals, I think like New York, London, Milan is in an okay spot, but I think New York and London are kind of waning a bit. And I think now they're slowly being replaced by the likes of Berlin Fashion Week. There's a lot of buzz around Barcelona Fashion Week. There's a lot of buzz around Copenhagen Fashion Week. Tokyo Fashion Week, even in Nigeria, like Lagos Fashion Week is becoming really big. So I actually think that there is a, I do see a world, maybe in like 15 years, where we have like 10 fashion capitals. So Paris will still always be the main one, and Milan a close second, and then there'll be this pack of like 10 to 15 other cities that have really strong fashion weeks. I think that definitely will be kind of the case. Do you think cold emailing local lifestyle magazine trying to get a job with pretty much just my YouTube portfolio would work? Yes, it would. It would. And to be honest, with these things, I always tell people like the worst thing that can happen is they say no. That's it. That's the worst thing that can happen. So you're always better off asking than not asking, and then not having any result or not knowing. You're always better off just ask. Luke said London has been dead for 15 years. That's crazy. I think it'd be really cool to have a hub somewhere really exotic or different than ever before. What, like, I'm trying to think, exotic, like Rio Fashion Week or something, like something really left field. I know they do have Fashion Week in Rio actually, because what's that brand? There's a brand I used to really be into that was based in Brazil. They had a like collaboration with Nike and all of that. And I know they used to show in Brazil a lot. So I know they have their own like Fashion Week thing going on there. Is the Napoli jersey representing a needed break from England? No, this is not even this is like when you go to Napoli and you get those like funny Napoli t-shirts. That's based like J'adore Napoli. That's basically what it is. But this is made by like NSS magazine. Shout out to NSS magazine. Crazy law. Oh my god, let me tell you guys a crazy story about NSS magazine actually. So the first time I ever went to Milan Fashion Week, this is a long time ago now. Jesus, I'm old. I'm actually old. But the first time I went to Milan Fashion Week, I had never been to Milan Fashion Week before. I'd only been to Paris and London, and every season, like people go to Milan Fashion Week, and I'm like, oh, I'm missing out. I had like FOMO. So one day I was just like, fuck it. And I had like £300 in my account, and I was like, fuck it. So I bought a flight to Milan for maybe like £70, maybe. Then I got an Airbnb. The Airbnb was cheap because I was staying in a room in someone's house in Milan, in Chinatown, and they were living there at the same time that I was there. So the room was really cheap. I was there for like maybe, I think 2 or 3 nights. I can't remember, but it wasn't too long. It was like 2 or 3 nights. And I know that came to like £100, I think. So that was like £170. So I had £130 left. Then I had to get to the airport, and then I had to like eat. And I was like, I just have to go to Milan Fashion Week. Fuck it. And I had some friends at NSS Magazine at the time. It's funny because I don't even think the people at NSS Magazine know this, by the way. Like when I tell this story, they might see it and be like, oh shit. So I obviously had no money. So I was like making sure I wasn't like going anywhere crazy. I wasn't going out where I didn't want to end up in a place where, like when you go out with fashion people and they're like, yeah, let's go for some food. And then they go to like the most fancy place in Milan. And now we're splitting the bill and it's like €100 each. That would have decimated me financially. So I was just like being really careful, not going out to eat with people, and like just being careful, watching my spending, because I only had like £100 left, and I didn't want to spend all of it, even though I had a flight back, because like anything can happen. What if like an emergency happened? So it's kind of surviving, and then I had a meeting with NSS magazine, and then they were like, let me actually show you so you guys can see this on the screen. And then they were like, "Oh, you're a journalist, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Oh, so basically, um, we've been looking for a journalist to help us with this job, with Moncler because we're more comfortable writing in Italian. So we were looking for an English speaking journalist to do this job for Moncler. And what the job was there's like Moncler had this anniversary show. I think it was like the 50th anniversary show. It was like huge, massive show. Like they blocked out the Duomo. Like it was huge. Like they had this massive production. And they're like, "Oh, we want you to cover it for Moncler." I was like, "Okay, that's cool." I was like, I mean, that's what I came here for. I came here to make something happen in Milan Fashion Week, just like do something. So like, "Oh yeah, by the way, talk to Moncler and negotiate a fee." So I reached out to Moncler about the job. Like they gave me the contacts, whatever. I was speaking to the people at Moncler, and then I negotiated a 4K fee, and I could not believe it. Like, cause I was broke. Like, I was so broke. I had no money. And they were like, "Yeah, just write, it's not even that serious. Just go to the show, have fun, write about what you see, 500 words, hand it in tomorrow, then we'll get you paid." I was like, "Is this real? Like, what's good?" I was so broke. I was like making sure I didn't go out to eat with people because I didn't want to end up like being like, "Oh, sorry guys, I actually can't afford to split the bill." Like I actually can't afford it. So that's literally the first time I went to Milan Fashion Week. That's literally what happened. Um, so yeah, crazy story. Just when I thought about NSS magazine, I just thought about that. But yeah, this t-shirt is by NSS magazine. Just to talk about NSS magazine. So NSS magazine will always hold a very special place in my heart. And if they want me to do stuff, I'm always willing to do it because that's the kind of experience you'll just never forget. Like I just can't forget it. And that show was crazy because all the Moncler affiliated people were there at the show because I was in the VIP section because I had to have like a good view of the show so that I could write about it. So I was talking to like Pharrell Williams, I talked to Michelle Lamy, I talked to Rick Owens. Like these are all people that are like collaborators or had collaborated with Moncler at the time. Salehi Bembry was there, Future was there. There were like K-pop stars that were there. It was cinema. It was actually crazy. It was so insane. I just need to whip up this article so you guys can see it. 1 second. Let me find this. I'm determined to find this. Let me see. Why can't I find this article? 1 second. Let me go on their website. How did you know you could ask for 4,000? Could you have asked for much more? I probably could, because the fact that they accepted the 4,000 probably shows that I probably should have asked for more. But I mean, what did I know? Like, I was a broke like journalism student. Like yeah, what did I know? Like, I was none the wiser. If it was now, I definitely would have asked for way more, knowing what I know now. But it's not now. That was then. It just is what it is. But yeah, so Dolce Jeans. This is what I mean by sometimes you have to bet on yourself. Sometimes you just ask. The worst thing they can say is no. The reason I got hired at BOF was because I just emailed the editor randomly. Like he will tell you. So I think fashion a lot of times is one of those industries you kind of have to be really proactive. If you're like just you're the kind of person that waits, you don't reach out to people, you just expect things to happen. It's not it's not really going to happen for you. That's not really how fashion works. But yeah, shout out to NSS magazine though. That was crazy. That shit was insane. I would have asked for half a bag and called it a day. You deal with it within the industry and also from the public scrutiny to judging your art. Yeah. What independent smaller brands slash designers are on your radar screen? Oh, let me check my phone because I normally when I see an interesting brand I like, I normally just like make a list of it or a note of it on my phone. Okay, let me show you guys a brand that I've been looking at recently. Um, do, do. I'll show you guys this brand. Okay, so there's a brand I discovered recently. They showed at Lagos Fashion Week. They're called Fruche or Fru. I don't know how to pronounce it. Official. It's a Nigerian brand made in Lagos, but I've just enjoyed like what I've been seeing from their collections. Obviously very inspired by like Nigerian heritage, but also like modernizing it and adding Western inspirations and all that sort of stuff. But I just think it's really cool, and I think it's also amazing what they're able to achieve out of like Nigeria, considering how like limited the resources are. So this is definitely a brand that I've like found really interesting. And when I go to when next I'm in Nigeria, I'm definitely going to like see if I can interview the designer and just like pick their brain, visit their studio, see what they're working on, that sort of stuff. But yeah, they even dressed Ciara at Lagos Fashion Week, which is really cool. But this is a brand that I've been looking at recently. Wait, Luke, message me on Discord about that. I can't really discuss that publicly, but message me on Discord about that. Message me on Discord. Message me on the Discord. Do, 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 do. Someone said red piece is next level. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. Sorry, I'm still looking for this Moncler article. I think I'm just putting in the wrong. I can't remember what it was titled because it was so long ago. Let me check something. Do, 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 do. Uh, uh, uh. Let me show you guys the show I'm talking about. Yeah, so this was the show that I'm talking about that I was at. This is the show. Oh yeah, of course I fuck with Skywater. Calling me Unc is crazy though. I'm actually Gen Z, you know. You guys need to put some respect on my name, you know. I'm actually Gen Z. I might be the older side of Gen Z, but I'm still clinging on to my Gen Z status. I feel like I'm Gen Z by like a few months. Like I think let me actually check it. Um when does Gen Z start? Um, uh, uh, uh. Yeah, so Gen Z generally starts with birth years in the mid to late 1990s. And yeah, I mean, I was born in 1997. So the most of the time, the range from for Gen Z is 1997 to 2012. So I'm literally on the other side of Gen Z. I'm probably more millennial than I am Gen Z, to be fair. Not so I'm saying I was born in the 1900s. That's crazy. But yeah, you guys can see the scale of the Montclair show. Like it was huge, huge show. All of this for shotters to be the ones copying. Someone said you're too sophisticated to be true Gen Z. Our Gen Z is not sophisticated. You definitely come off as a millennial. How do millennials come off? I'm just curious. Is it that like Gen Zs are seen to be a bit immature, or what? What is it? What is it? Do you think live streaming is the main way you got so many damn subs? It's live streaming and shorts. So almost all of my views are from live streams and shorts. So people don't watch my videos when I post them. I don't know why. It's just my channel. um, but if I post like a short or I do a stream, it gets loads of views because people are interested in my streams. I guess like people really watch them back. So yeah, it's to do with my streams and shorts. I think it just depends on your audience, to be honest, because some people stream and no one watches it, but then people watch all their videos. I think it just depends on your audience. People have like different audiences. I understand why it's like that way, why it's like that for my audience. I'm what you call a talker. I talk a lot. And streaming is the best. I found out over time that streaming is the best format because I'm really bad at summarizing. It's why I hate making short-term content, like short-form content, because when you summarize, then there's points you can't make, and then when you can't make those points, and people are like, oh, you didn't say this, you don't even know this, and it's like, bro, there's a like 30-second limit. There's literally a 90-second limit. Like, calm down. Um, whereas in a stream, I can make all the points forever. So I prefer it that way. But I think all the subscribers definitely from like the shorts, the short form content, and the streams. Okay, I'm seeing what you guys are saying about why I give off millennial instead of Gen Z. Uh, Giving wisdom. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's see what other people say. I'm very curious. Okay, let me answer this quickly before Any other recent graduates of London you're fond of apart from Yaku? Yes, Octi, the Ooze, uh, there's quite a few. I've gone blank, but there's quite a few. I'll remember now. Who's the guy I'm always talking about? How did he just skip my mind? He's stocked at DSM now. Charlie Constantinu. There we go. Um, yeah, there's a few. There's a few. There's a few. I don't say bruh after every sentence. Did Gen Z people do that? Did Gen Z people actually do that? Too thoughtful to be a Gen Z, no shade. Or a Gen A. Crazy. Guilty of watching only the lives. Yeah, I think Gen Z though, um Gen Z kids are cool. I think I'm saying this like I'm not Gen Z, but I feel like I'm more a millennial. But anyway, Gen Z kids are cool. I think what's the generation after Gen Z? Is that what do they call themselves after Gen Z? That generation is the generation that I feel sorry for. That generation, they don't leave their house. They don't go outside. They don't communicate with people. They're socially awkward. They don't understand life. Like the reason why I can talk about, oh, in LA this happens or in this place this happens is because I've traveled a lot and I've gone out a lot and I've met loads of people and I've met people of different cultures. And I have friends from all different cultures and races and backgrounds and social classes. Like if you're like the typical like young kid now is so like insulated and all their information is online, which is like bad because a lot of information is misinformation online. So I genuinely feel sorry for them. Okay, Gen Alpha. I feel so sorry for them. Like, it's crazy. Like, honestly, if I had a kid, I would like probably prevent them from using social media until they're like at least a teenager because I just want them to socialize. Like, I wasn't on social media until I was like 16, maybe. Like, when did Facebook come? This is making me sound old. When did Facebook come up? When I was younger, we used to use like I never used MySpace because I just feel like in London at the time it just wasn't a thing. We knew what MySpace was, but it just wasn't that big in the UK. We used to use MSN, like MSN Messenger. That didn't really feel like social media. It was just like people whose emails you had, you would MSN them. But I guess that was the first social media I ever had. Then when Facebook came out, then that became the social media, and then there was like BlackBerry, like BBM pin, like BBM pin. That was like the form of social media, and then it just became. Then it was like Tumblr. It was like Tumblr, Facebook, BBM. That was the three, and then Pinterest, and then Twitter, and then you start and YouTube to be fair, and then like Instagram came later, and then TikTok way later. Interesting. Look, man, I was on Facebook when it was still only open to college students. That's crazy. I wasn't on Facebook that early. I think by the time I hopped onto Facebook, because obviously I wasn't in college, I was younger than that when Facebook came out. So I think I got on Facebook maybe like 4 to 5 years after it. Let me see. When did Facebook launch? One second. When did Facebook first launch? Okay, so Facebook launched in 2004. I was 7 years old when Facebook launched, so I definitely wasn't on. I didn't go on Facebook till at least I was. I know I was definitely in secondary school, so I wasn't on Facebook till at least I was like 11, 12. So yeah, that was like 5 years after. But yeah, I'm sure Facebook, because it's American, I feel like Americans would have been on Facebook slightly earlier than us, everywhere else. So that makes sense, to be honest. That makes sense. I was in Facebook in high school. They just opened it to high school students. Yeah. I mean, yeah. What do you guys call it when you guys are, because I hopped on Facebook when I was 12. What is that in the US? High school is like what age to what age? I never really understand like the age system in America. I just feel like high school is probably like what 17, 18 ish. That's what I assume because it's like just before you go to like college, right? Like maybe like 16, 17, 18. What is wait, so high school is 14 to 18. Okay, fair enough. So that would be middle school then. Middle school. Okay, so middle school is from what age to what age? I had to get on Twitter for a class assignment in college. Yeah. They got middle school and shit. Elementary. Yeah, we have primary, secondary, sixth form. Primary, secondary, sixth form. Primary, secondary, A levels. So 11 to 13 is middle school. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so when I was in middle school was when I hopped on Facebook. That was when I hopped on Facebook. But even then, because once again, that was when all of us were starting to use it, like in London and stuff. So realistically, we weren't really on it like that. We were kind of just all navigating. I don't think we were actively on Facebook till like I was at least 14, 15. So that's why I feel like kids these days are really cooked, because if you're socially, it like affects your ability to do a lot of things. Like, how do you work in an industry like fashion, for example, where you have to be sociable, you have to speak to people, you have to make friends, you have to make connections? Like, if you can't speak, if you're just so socially awkward, you can't talk to anyone, how do you even communicate? Like, I just feel like it stifles your life. Like, when I was younger, I just used to play sports. I would like leave my house and go to the park and play football with like other teenagers and kids my age and their parents and everyone just all in one. Um, we would just play football, and then we'd do other stuff, and then you just play around with other kids, socializing. Like, that's what, if when I have kids, if I do ever have kids, but when I have kids, we'll see. They're not allowed social media, and they're going to be. I'm going to force them to socialize with other kids. Like, I cannot raise kids that can't be so, like, that's weird. I don't want to have kids that like can't communicate with other human beings effectively. I don't want to have antisocial kids. I'll be like, go and communicate. I'll put them in like extracurricular activities so they can play with other kids. Like, the whole staying at home, like being on your phone, is definitely, they're not going to be allowed to do that. Yeah, MSN was what I was talking about earlier. I was like, that's what we used during that MySpace era, because I don't feel like in the UK MySpace ever took off, to be honest. I just knew about it because like pop culture and Soldier Boy and all these kind of people, but yeah, I don't think MySpace ever actually took off in the UK, to be honest. There were people that would use it, but it wasn't like big. It wasn't really a thing in the UK. Because I feel like the time period that I talk about using MSN Messenger, people are like, oh, we used to use MySpace. It's like, oh, cool. Like, we don't really use MySpace in the UK. I found Lily Allen on MySpace. That's crazy. Kids need to earn good social media habits because they'll use it for their whole life. Yeah, 100%. And I guess I'd have to teach my kids on how to like, because a lot of people these days, when it comes to social media, they're very reactive on social media. So they'll like read a headline. So this is something that people don't understand. I understand this because I'm a journalist and I study journalism, but it's like, um, in journalism, we learn to make punchy titles. Because if you make a punchy title, people click it. You want clickable titles. That's our job as journalists. So we try to find the most sensationalized part of the article and turn it into the title so people click. So knowing this as a journalist, when I read a title, I don't get this like this visceral reaction like, oh my God, da da da. Because I just know that's what the journalist is doing. So until I've read the article, I actually don't have an opinion on what I've just read based on the title. Whereas some people never read articles, their whole life is by titles. They're like, didn't you see when this person did that? And it's like, I don't think that happened. And they're like, I read an article, and I'm like, did you read it or did you read the headline? So I need to teach, if I have kids, I need to teach them to not do that. To actually delve further, not just read headlines, learn things properly. Yeah, because as a kid, if no one is guiding you, you'll just end up being that person. MySpace was quick in its rise and fall. That's kind of like do you guys remember Vine? Vine is another one of those things that there were people in the UK that were using it, but I don't think it was that big. Vine wasn't. I don't remember Vine ever really having like a huge moment. The way like TikTok has, or Instagram or YouTube. Vine never really took off in the UK, but people were using it. Definitely more than MySpace. But Vine came and went so fast. Like Vine, that was weird. Vine just came and went like a flash. Vine was weird. Vine was weird. Vine birthed a lot of careers though. Like the Jake Paul and Logan Paul, they got big on Vine, and like so many like comedians and those kind of people that used to make skits. Those skit comedians, a lot of them became like actual proper comedians off Vine. He said that's a face lie. That was massive. It wasn't. I think because like I'm comparing because so I've been going to the US my whole life because I have family in the US. So I've been going to the US as a kid. I've probably been to the US like 30 times, if not more. So I'm comparing when I was growing up, like with the MySpace thing, when I would go to LA and visit my cousins and they'll be talking about MySpace, I'm like, okay, I know what MySpace is, but we don't use MySpace. The way you're talking about it, or like Vine was very similar because we had Vine, but it's like the way they were like on Vine 24/7 was like how kids are on TikTok now. That's how my cousins were on Vine. I don't think in the UK we were on Vine like that. I don't think so. So in my mind, mentally, I always compare it to like, because most of these companies are like US based. So I always compare it to like where these companies were founded and like the culture that's built in the US versus everywhere else. Um, the Vine influencers were the ones who made everything go to shit. Hey, Lawrence is a great journalist, and the tech space, in my opinion, is big on teaching habits instead of restricting access. Yeah. I think so. The thing about restricting access, I believe in restricting access until a certain age, but I think after that point, there's no restricting access. But I think, I just don't think kids are intelligent because they're kids. So it's like, if you're a kid, like you're like a 6-year old, and you're on social media where adults are, like you can be easily manipulated. You could start to adopt opinions that like you're just seeing, but you're not smart enough to be discerning enough to know like good from bad and all that sort of stuff. Or to see like the nuance in things. So that's why that young, I would probably restrict my kids from social media. Obviously, different parents have different ways that they would view it. I personally would. But once they're like going to like secondary school, I think that's the point where they're getting too old to restrict them. At that point, I'll just have to like tell them about the negative aspects of it. Well, yeah, they're manipulating adults too on social media. So imagine kids, literally. And you had whole companies that were like Cambridge Analytica and that whole thing, right? Where they were kind of steering content to try and change people's opinions politically. So not to talk of a 5-year old, like, yeah, protect the kids. My daughter's school did not allow phones till 10 years old. Took the phone away. That's fair enough, to be honest. Let the kids socialize. Let them build social skills. I think it's so important. I can see that my friend has a kid in primary school and made it a point for her to be in activities every season. So going on social media slash YouTube is not a thought for her. Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. Like I would put them in like, what do you like to do? Do you like to dance? Let's put you in dance class. Do you like to play an instrument? Let's put you in piano lessons. Do you like to play sports? Let's put you on a sports team. Just so they can keep communicating, making friends in different spaces, different kinds of people, mingling with people. I think is really important. Yeah, I saw the ban on social media in Australia. I haven't looked into it though. Do you have more info on like the Australia ban? Let me Google it now. I did see that though. Let's have a look. see. Yeah, I haven't looked into it. I know I haven't like read articles about it yet or done research. I just know that Australia is pushing for like a social media ban. Mental health issues, provides the children. Yeah, I think so. The issue with like this is the difference between like being an adult and being a kid. Social media is not real life, right? And I think when you're a kid, you don't understand that. And or sometimes when you're a kid, you think that things that aren't really important are important. So sometimes when you're in school, like I remember when I was younger and I was in school, let's say like you do something embarrassing, you feel like the world is going to end. It's like, bruh, you're only in school for how long of your like as a percentage of your life, it's not that long. Um but in when you're there at that moment, it feels like the world is going to end. So it's like as an adult, if someone says something crazy to me in the chat, I don't care. Or like someone says crazy to me in the comments, I don't care because it's social media. It's not real life. Like in real life, genuinely in real life, my experience in real life is someone tells me my brother's going to beat you up, and then I'm like, call your brother, and then they look at me and they're like, oh, actually maybe not, because I'm just huge. So like in reality, no one really taught. Even people that are racist don't racially abuse me because they're just scared of me because I'm so big. So like it's not real life. But when you're a kid, you don't understand that. You think like so for example, some kids, someone will call you like ugly on social media, and some kids might internalize that and actually have like mental health issues and be like, oh my god, I'm ugly because someone said it on social media, because you think that's it's not real life. Like some people just go on social media to like spread hate. Some people go on social media to like to project. So maybe they aren't confident with the way that they look, so then they start projecting onto other people and just go around commenting you're ugly on people's stuff because that helps them mentally, I guess. So it's not, social media is just not real life. And as a kid, I feel like kids don't understand that. That's why it affects their mental health so much. And I feel like as an adult, you start to understand that a lot easier. Internet and phone penetration is very different now compared to when early Zoomers, late millennials grew up. You can't escape it. People who don't use the internet fall behind. That's very true. That's true. Let's see. There's no penalties for being on there. It's an active list. So if an app becomes popular, it can get cut. Age verification through live vids. Ah, okay. That's interesting. That's interesting. New legislation in the US requires age restrictions that affect everyone on the internet and will result in mass surveillance and limiting critical services for marginalized communities. Yeah, so what I don't like, this is like in the UK where you have to have like digital IDs and stuff. That's kind of what they're pushing for. I don't like that. I don't like the government like monitoring your every move. I don't like the idea of that. That is so dystopian. That feels like an episode of Black Mirror. That's like so a lot of these verification things, what I don't like about them is like it just gives, it's more data points. I don't like that. I don't, even though my data is all over the internet already. Like I literally have a like YouTube channel. Like what am I talking about? But still. The US is tweaking with its social media policy, especially the 5-year disclosure of social media active. Damn. For people visiting and entering. Jeez. This world is turning into Black Mirror for sure. Is it just me or is anyone else upset that we don't get original soundtracks to fashion shows anymore? When you say original soundtracks, do you mean live music original soundtracks, or do you just mean that when you look at the Runaway show on YouTube, the music is different on the YouTube show to at the actual show? That obviously is because of copyright. Like it, getting the copyright to publish something on social media is way more expensive and costs way more and is more difficult to get than to get the rights to just play live music at a venue. It's so easy to play live music at a venue. Like there's a website, I've forgotten what it's called. People that work in the music industry will remind me, where you go on that website. Like if you have a live venue, You go on that website and all the songs that you want to play, you can just pay for it on there. For every play, like for every song you play, there's like a certain royalty that goes to the people that own the rights to that music. So that's kind of what the brands will do to play the live music. But then getting the rights to post it as part of a YouTube is like really expensive. That's like super, because now you're like distributing it. So it's like, yeah, super, super, super expensive. Okay, they mean songs recorded specifically for the show. I think some people still do it. Like people have orchestras and stuff like the Margiela show. Um, some people do. Some people do. Like Pharrell Williams has like choirs and stuff and has live music a lot of the time. For some of the songs at least. So yeah, I think it just depends. Like Scaparelli show used the Leah songs and it was so good, and on their YouTube they can't play it. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I just covered that. It's to do with the rights. It's to doing. Why don't they put a disclaimer saying they don't own the rights? Because so if I played an Aaliyah song and I put a disclaimer that I don't own the rights, I don't think anyone would care because I'm me. In terms of like, in the grand scheme of things, I'm irrelevant. I'm not like a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I'm just like a tiny entity. So they're just going to look at it like, we don't care. But if Chanel does it, they're a $1 billion entity, so they're just going to get sued. And they'll probably lose the lawsuit. So they just don't want to play in. That's why, like, when I make reels or like short content, I can just put any picture in the reel and it doesn't matter. Worst case scenario, I just take the video down, that's it. But like when I work with companies, they're so like, we have to buy the rights for every image, and like if we can't find the rights, who owns the rights to this, we can't use it. Because they're big entities, they can get sued. I mean, I technically can get sued too, but if you sue me, you're not going to get much money, which is why people don't bother. I don't have a lot of money, so if you sue me, there's just not much money to be made. But if you sue Chanel, you sue Nike, you sue, I don't know, a big corporation, you win, then there's money to be made. That's why these brands more than likely will just not play in that. I mean, I definitely have no bread compared to, and I have no motion compared to Chanel. I mean, I definitely don't. You're correct. Colleen Estrada's got the best music for shows. Do they? I'm trying to think. The last Colleen Estrada show. I can't remember the soundtrack to the last Colleen Estrada show. I'll have a look after. Do I have a favorite Twitch streamer? To be very honest, I don't watch a lot of Twitch, even though I stream on Twitch. I'm streaming on Twitch now. The reason why is just like the kind of content I watch, those kind of Twitch streamers don't exist yet. So it's like I would want to watch fashion streamers. There's not too many fashion streamers. There's maybe like one other one that I'm aware of. I don't really watch like political streamers. I don't really watch like the IRL like Kaisana, I Show Speed. I think what they do is really cool. I think it's very influential, but I don't watch them. I've watched Plaque Boy Max a few times because of the guests that, like, one time he came to London. I watched that stream. Yeah, I just think the kind of streamers that I would like to see, they don't exist yet. But once they exist, I'll definitely be on Twitch a lot more. For sure. Don't watch Twitch, you'll get brain rot like I did. Not all the time. I mean, I would like to believe that people that tune into my Twitch streams don't get brain rot. So I just think it depends on who you're watching. But once again, so everything that I watch, I like to learn things from. I can't watch mindless TV or content unless it's like for a reason. So like, for example, I'm watching Sex in the City right now. Imagine I never watched it. Crazy. But the reason I'm watching it is because obviously it's important to watch, as someone that like is into fashion. It's quite important in fashion, but it is mindless TV. It's very mindless. Like I'm not learning anything other than, oh, this is what Carrie Bradshaw wore. Like, so yeah, it is very mindless TV, but I'm learning about what people reference in fashion. So I guess there's an educational side to that. So if I watch mindless TV like Emily in Paris, it's because I'm a fashion journalist and I need to kind of understand Emily in Paris and how that sits in the greater scheme of fashion and like the dressing and how brands are using TV shows to promote products and do product placement. Like all of it is important. So I can't just watch dumb shit. Is it? I guess that's what I wanted to say. And I think a lot of Twitch streamers, it's just dumb shit. It's just stupid shit. They just sit around and just act a fool. I just can't watch that. Like just all these Twitch, and they scream at the mic, and they have these like fake, over exaggerated personalities, like and they start doing like weird shit. It's just like, it's just not for me. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe there's something the younger generation get from it, but it's just mindless. I just think it's really mindless. It's just, yeah, it's just a bit silly. Like they're screaming and then they just do dumb. And then there's a lot of, cause like I watch, as you guys know, Omizi on YouTube. He's like a reaction channel, has really good videos. He talks about streamers all the time, so I'll watch his videos just to learn about the streaming space. Once again, educational. But like some of these streamers, I'm like, why do people like some streamers that their content is based on, it's not educational, you don't learn anything. It's based on causing a nuisance. So there was a guy, what was his name? Like Johnny Somali or something. You guys might know him. And he just goes to like Korea or Japan and just like basically causes a nuisance and annoys the locals on purpose and scares locals. I'm like, why is that your content style? Like, what kind of stupid content style is that? Like, why is that even a category of content? It's just so dumb. And people actually take hours out of their day to just watch some guy go around Tokyo and Korea and cause a nuisance and just shout at locals for no reason and steal local stuff and run away and then throw it back at, like, it's just so dumb. Um so that's what I'm talking about with like the mindless content. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Okay, you're talking about Johnny Somali. He made fun of a monument for comfort women in Korea. A huge no-no. See what I mean? They just go around like, or there's like the pranksters that go around just like causing a nuisance, like the complete nuisance, like making people's days like terrible, like going around like pushing people and then being like, it's a prank. There's the camera. Like it's just. It's like, why is that a content strategy? Like, actually go and read a book and add something to society with your content. Like, why are you going around like just like putting like food under someone's seat and then they sit down on food and it's like, it's a prank. Like, it's just it's so dumb. Am I a fan of Alexander Fury? I definitely am. I definitely am. Sam Pepper, Final Evolution. Well, what happened to him? I thought he got arrested, right? The Johnny Somali guy. Punishment was disproportionate as fuck, though he is facing prison time, has no money left. That's good. They should have deported him back to the US. The crazy thing about that Johnny Somali guy, he's actually an adult. Let me Google how old he is. Johnny Somali age. He was born in 2000. So he's 25, behaving that way. See what I mean? Like, so it's like, yeah. So this is why I don't watch Twitch, guys. This is when I think of Twitch, this is what I associate with Twitch. Like if I go on Twitch now and I look at people streaming, it's going to be either people gaming, which is actually fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with gaming content. That's completely fine. But I'm just not that into gaming. If I was, then maybe I'll be on Twitch more. And then, so you're going to have the gaming people, which is cool. Then you're just going to have like the people that just don't really do anything. They just stream. It's like they're just streamers. I don't even know what they do. They just like go around, do random shit, meet random people, scream at the camera, random shit. I've got other things to do. Like I've got a job, I've got work to do. This is not for me. But when more interesting streamers are like a common thing, then I'll definitely be on Twitch more. Definitely. I don't know when there was a period of time when a set of younger Gen Z kids were infiltrated with this idea that the internet is not real life and therefore your actions are without consequence. Yeah, that's what I was saying, that like the internet isn't real life in the sense of like, so I think this is the problem with young Gen Z or like younger generation. Oh my god, I sound so old. Oh my god, I sound like my uncle. Oh well. So the problem is that when I was younger, because social media was limited, you had a clear understanding that you don't do things because to every action there's an equal but opposite reaction. Hey, physics laws. So like if I was younger, if I said something offensive to someone, I would expect to be punched for it. Or like if I say something, I expect to get into a fight for it. Like I understood that very clearly. It's why I don't even understand the idea of like internet trolling. It's why I could never be an internet troll. Like I don't like leaving crazy hate comments on people's stuff. I just don't do it because it's just not. It's like if I don't like the video, I'll just move on. Like unless if I think there's misinformation, that's different. That's not a hate comment though. That's me adding context. That's me saying, oh, you said this actually is this. That's different. Like if someone comments that in my videos, that's completely fine. But it's like the whole you're a this, you're ugly. I don't understand that sort of stuff. But it's because I lived in the real world for most of my life. So I think a lot of kids, they're the opposite, where they've been online their whole life, they've said all these things, and they start to think that like you can just say that. They don't understand because they haven't had to deal with the consequences of like saying that in real life and being punched in the face. So when they go into real life, like some of these streamers, for example, that go around pranking people, some of them have been killed because they do all these stupid pranks to people who are on edge, and then they just pull out a gun and they shoot them. And not gonna lie, it sounds harsh, but you kind of deserve it because you shouldn't go around to random people antagonizing them. Like you can't just go and antagonize someone randomly and then you get shot and play the victim. Like you shouldn't go around antagonizing people. But I understand this because I understand that if you just go to a random person and start causing a nuisance and making their life difficult, you can't complain with what comes back. If they punch you in the face, you can't complain. If they shoot you, you can't complain. If they bring out a knife and hurt you, you can't complain because you went out of your way to make their life more difficult. They didn't do anything to you. They were minding their business. You went to them and started causing a nuisance. And I think a lot of kids, I don't know what it is mentally about kids these days, but it's just they don't understand that. And I don't understand like why they don't get that. It's so weird. It's so weird. It's so weird. A lot of these influencers have very cushy and easy lives. That builds resentment among people who've got no future. They spew hate at them as their only way to rebel against the system. I guess that might be another thing too. That might be another reason why as well. You haven't had any hate for a while. Do you want to discuss what's... That's not true. I feel like I get hate comments every day. I think we just haven't had hate on the stream for a while, for sure. But on like when people comment and stuff, I feel like I get hate comments every day. You need to keep eye on his toes. Oh gosh. Yeah. I don't once again to this point, yes, a lot of influencers do have very cushy and easy life. I think to be honest, being an influencer is quite unless you start at a really young age, being an influencer as an adult is like very hard. Like because you have responsibilities and you have bills to pay. And the amount of time that you have to put into making content, if you want to do it full time, you almost have to like damn near move in with your parents and then make content and keep doing it until you get to a certain point where then you can actually make a living off it. So most of the kids that can afford to do content full time are just rich kids because those are the only ones that can like afford to just put all that time into content when it's not making money before it is. So yeah, that's probably why a lot of influencers are like living that like cushy lifestyle. Not all, but most of them are. And that's why you get like a lot of influencers talk about things, and I'm just like, wow. Like, what was I was watching a video. I don't know how I stumbled on this video the other day on YouTube. What was this person talking about that I could not believe? I could not believe. Oh, okay. I remember. Listen to this. So, there's a big story going around right now of this NFL player called Odell Beckham. Most of you might know him. And he made a statement where he said like $100 million is like not a lot of money, right? And so I was just like, what? Like in what context can $100 million not a lot of money? If you get $100 million and you invest $100 million and you get a 9% return on your money every year, it means that like you're going to make $9 million every year until the day you die. And it's probably going to go up because that 100 million capital is also rising as as you get the income payout. So that to me is just like $100 million not being a lot of money. That's just stupid. But then you have these content creators, some of them even financial content creators, and then they try to make this argument that like 100 million is not a lot because they're like by the time you buy a yacht and a private jet, and it's like, it's, it's like there's private jets that go for $100 million, and it's like, what, bro? If you make $9 million a year, you don't need to buy a private jet. You can charter a private jet everywhere you go, and that money won't finish. And that 9 million is coming in every year. Why would you buy a private jet? It's so dumb. Like, it's just like, what are these guys talking about? So it's just like, yeah, some people on the internet, they spin my head, honestly. It's so stupid. It's like, oh, well, if you buy like a 50-bedroom mansion, then all your money has got like, who buys a 50-bedroom mansion? Like, like what? What are they talking about? So yeah, the content I've seen around that whole Odell Beckham saying 100 million is not a lot has fried my brain. I think maybe once again, because it's a lot of people saying this are like younger kids. And I think maybe because I'm older and I live in reality, I think young kids sometimes, so with young kids, I think the issue with young kids is, especially when they're online and they make content about finance, first of all think that if you don't have any like financial responsibilities, you shouldn't even be allowed to make financial content because you don't know. If you haven't done a tax return, you shouldn't be making financial content. If you like don't know how businesses work, you shouldn't be making business content. But you have a lot of that on the internet, right? Because it's like you've never paid rent, you've never paid a mortgage, you've never paid bills, and you're talking about like what is or isn't a lot of money. Like what's your frame of reference to even know that? Like I just don't even understand that. And I think some of these kids, because when you couple not having their own responsibilities because their parents are still taking care of everything, so they don't get it, on top of them being on Instagram 24/7, they start to think that like what isn't real is actually reality, and it's not reality. Like $100 million is generational wealth. Like $100 million is $9 million a year. And that's a conservative, like $9 million every year to the day you die. That is generational wealth. There's no other way to look at it. Like $9 million a year in any country is generational wealth. I don't care where you live on this planet, it's generational wealth. And to argue otherwise just means you don't know what you're talking about. That's all it means. That's literally all it means. Because when they start going like, oh, but what if I want the lifestyle I want? It's like, what lifestyle do you need more than 9 million a year to live? Like, what lifestyle are you trying to live? I don't understand that. Like, what lifestyle are they talking about? Like, I think if you earn 9 million a year, there's nothing on this planet you can't do. Like, you might not be able to own the mega yacht, but you can definitely charter it for a week. And most billionaires that own mega yachts, they don't use it. They sit for most of the year. Most billionaires only use their yacht in the summer season. In the winter, it's being cleaned and renovated and they fix the engines. I only know all of this stuff because I work in luxury fashion, so I meet a lot of these people. So they only use like their yacht when they go to Cannes Film Festival, and then they take their yacht to the Monaco Grand Prix, and then they do another few things in the summer, and that's it. So instead of having that humongous cost that the billionaire would have, if you make 9 million a year, you just need to rent it for the season that the rich people would actually use it. That's it. Like, instead of owning a private jet and having that crazy cost, paying for the pilots and the plane staff and all that sort of stuff, you just charter it as at when you need it. So once again, there's no lifestyle. I personally don't think that there's any lifestyle that you can't live at 9 million a year. If there's someone in this world that thinks that, it just means you don't understand money and you don't have any sense of like what things cost or how to spend money effectively. Like $9 million is outrageous amounts of money a year. It's crazy. Yeah, like there's a whole industry built on the assets of billionaires being rented out yearly. Exactly. But yeah, I'm only talking about this because it's like an example of what I mean about like Twitch, why I don't watch Twitch. Because Twitch is full of people like that, like people that like are financial gurus and like they say things like $100 million is not a lot of money. And then they start gaslighting you. They'll be like, I know it's hard for you to fathom, but like in my world, 100 million is not a lot. And it's just like, bro, if you made $100 million, you would not be streaming on Twitch. Like, stop it. People that make $100 million are so busy. Like, the kind of things you need to do to make that kind of money, you either have to make a company that's so valuable that when you sell it, you get 100 million, or you have to build like you have to build something that's going to turn into Microsoft or something like that. But think about it, Io. You could have bought every single Andy piece on Grailed every month with 9 million a year. Facts. And you'd have loads of money left over. Like, loads of money left over. Like, it's insane. It's insane. I think when people think of 100 million, they think, well, I've always wanted like a private. This is another thing. This is my issue with like people that just aren't intelligent, like making financial content. The only people that buy private jets that are worth like 100 million are people that have a business need for it. Unless you're like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos rich, the only way you can justify owning outright a like business jet, like I'm talking like the 100 million, like the Airbuses, is if you have like a business need. Like if that plane is not flying, if that plane is not in the air at least like a third of all days possible in the year, then it doesn't make financial sense. You're better off just like chartering flights at that point. Like if you do the maths, you would actually spend less money chartering private flights as at when you needed it, unless like there's literally calculators that you can use to check when it becomes cost effective to actually buy your own private jet. And it's like you'd have to be someone that travels like Virgil Abloh was. You'd have to be someone that like, I need to be in Chicago today and then Tokyo tomorrow and then here at this time. You have to be like one of those people. That's the only time it actually makes financial sense. So this whole like dream that people have of like owning things that they actually don't even need, to me is just insane. Nobody needs to be in Chicago. That's where Virgil Abloh is from. That's what I thought about that. If you buy a plane that sits in a hangar, you're literally just sinking your portfolio. Yeah, facts. That's why it doesn't make sense. Like, because planes are like so expensive to maintain. I think there's a stat. Once again, guys, the only reason I know all of this stuff, because once again, unlike these young kids, I actually work in the luxury industry. So like, I actively work with like, I've done work with yacht makers and like people that make private jets. Like I've done projects with these kind of people. So I like know some stuff. But so typically the cost of a private jet, the maintenance cost over 10 years is double the cost of the private jet, which is insane. So if you buy a private jet for 20 million, you can expect to pay 40 million on expenses on that private jet over 10 years. That's like fuel, the cost of the pilot, the air hostess, food, the hangar fees to actually park your jet, all those things all in one, like insurance, tax, like air tax, like pollution tax, all that sort of stuff. You're literally going to spend double the amount. So get AD to Chicago, bring him home. That's funny. You gotta understand, these streamers aren't mentally healthy people. It doesn't matter how much they have, they just need attention because they're broken people. So are we, instead of being chatters in the stream, being chatters in the stream instead of touching grass? Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with like spending time online. Like I'm chronically online, but I'm also chronically outside. So it's different. It's like I think it's just, if you're going to be chronically online, at least learn something. Being chronically online and like getting brain rot is like where the issue is. Like getting brain rot from Twitch streamers. I mean, I do it for the love of the game. If streaming was my job, then I would have to stream every day to make it like a viable career. Yeah, I'd have to stream every single day, like streamers. I just do it because it's fun. I actually enjoy it. Watch Twitch in parks. That's how you can touch grass and be chronically online. Watch Twitch in parks. That's hilarious. That's actually funny. You've actually done that. Hey, so long as you're touching grass, that's all that matters. When I'd get bored of talking to friends, you're touching grass, that's all that matters. That was my only takeaway from this. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna take my leave. It's like almost 5 a.m. here. So I shall be going to bed, but thank you very much for tuning in. This was fun doing after hours and all of that. I don't know when the next stream will be. I always say soon, who knows? But I'll see you guys the next time I do a stream. Thank you very much.